Chapter 1 Rebirth of the Demon Emperor. Eat very quickly. Pay attention to nutritional supplementation. No fixed female lead. Master killing and ancestor destroying. New readers, claim your new user gift pack. The lower realms, 3,000 hour realms. Deepest part of the demonic domain in the Tianyuan realm. The majestic black hall of the Yin-Yang sacred sect was completely surrounded by the vast disciples of the 9 great immortal sects. Golden light flashed as demon-slaying flying swords rained down like a storm, their sword auras impenetrable. Demon-exterminating Dao spells roared like thunder, tearing through the void realm. Blood-red, devilish chi and pure white light intertwined, like the final frenzied dance before the end of the world. Beneath him, countless severed limbs and corpses of demonic sect disciples lay strewn across the ground, resembling a hell on earth. Even his beloved junior sister and master had already perished. Lin Yun stood at the highest spire of the sect, devilish chi surging, his black and gold robes fluttering, and his dark long hair dancing wildly. A cold smile hung on his wickedly imposing face. Deep, abyssal eyes burned with a flame of unwillingness, his devilish chi oppressive, staining the sky like ink. Having fought to this point, he knew he had lost. Lost completely. But how could he give up now? Immortal Dao dogs, dare to destroy my demonic sect? Today, this old man will drag you all to your graves. They let out a wild laugh, devilish chi erupting like a tide, black flames rising around him, as if a devil god had descended. The powerhouses of the 9 great immortal sects all changed color. Everyone be careful, old Devil Lin is going all out. Then, a white-robed immortal sect elder snorted coldly. Old Devil Lin, you still dare to be arrogant? You're just a lowly bastard clinging to life. This venerable one, Purple Heaven Saint Monarch, will grind you to dust today. Another purple-robed Taoist laughed loudly in mockery. Ha, demonic path supreme? You're just a toad jumping around, making a fool of yourself. It's not too late to kneel and beg for mercy now. A bald old monk also put his palms together. Benefactor Lin, the sea of suffering is boundless. Put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha immediately. Looking at these sanctimonious hypocrites, Lin Yun was filled with rage, yet the smile on his lips grew even more wicked. A bunch of chicken-stealing, dog-snatching scoundrels. If it were a one-on-one fight, this old man would crush you with a single hand. This old man has dominated the 3,000 hour realms, stepping on countless righteous path prodigies. Even if I am shattered to pieces today, I will drag you all to hell. His sect was gone. His master, senior sister, and junior sister were dead. Lin Yun had nothing left to cling to. He was a transmigrator to begin with, having lived a carefree and dashing life for so many years. This old man has lived enough. With that, he violently self-destructed. With a loud boom, flesh and devilish chi exploded, and thousands of immortal sect disciples were instantly reduced to ashes. Blood rain splattered across the black hall, and devilish chi soared into the sky like a roaring black dragon, making heaven and earth tremble. The bloody, desperate scene was like the arrival of the apocalypse. Old Devil Lin's domineering demonic might shocked the 9 heavens, wickedly imposing, with a hint of unbridled madness. This was also his final swan song. As his divine soul burned out, old Devil Lin's last thought also dissipated. But all of this came to an abrupt halt. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back 3 days before his sect was besieged and annihilated. The eve of the demonic sect's impending encirclement. He was still alive, his devilish chi undissipated, and memories flooded in like a tide. Lin Yun was a little slow to react, but a hoarse voice like a broken gong sounded in his ear. Ding! Host Lin Yun, system awakening failed, delayed by 8,000 years. Now compensating with a 1,000-fold talent bonus, and gifting a divine rank dual cultivation experience card, which can seize half of the target's cultivation. This system is very busy, goodbye. This system is going to save other transmigrators. 8,000 years. Lin Yun almost spat out a mouthful of old blood, staring at the void realm and cursing. This old man worked so hard to survive and become the demonic path supreme. And your system only arrived so late? And you give me this broken thing, an experience card? Why don't you give this old man a 5 yuan Rolls-Royce voucher, damn it? He cursed for a long time, but there was no response. He looked down and saw that the system interface was empty. The system had disappeared, leaving only a golden glowing card. Lin Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but then he remembered that he was currently in a desperate situation with 9 deaths and no life, and his body suddenly tensed. The encirclement of the 9 great immortal sects was imminent, even with 1,000-fold talent. If he didn't change his fate, the final outcome, he would still be unable to escape death. rage and helplessness intertwined in his chest, emotions churning like a volcano. What to do? How to break the situation? Lin Yun's gaze swept across the hall. Suddenly, Lin Yun's gaze fell on the portrait hanging on the wall, the ancestral master empress who had ascended 10,000 years ago. The person in the painting was as beautiful as a heavenly immortal, and her aura was even more sharp like a blade, subtly emanating from the painting. His mind stirred, and with an evil, charming smile, he already had a plan. This was the legendary Devil Emperor ancestral master, who had ascended 10,000 years ago. But now the sect was in imminent danger. He also remembered that there was a record in the sect master's legacy. If the sect faced a great calamity, the demonic sect's sect master supreme could burn incense and report to the ancestral master empress. Perhaps there would be a response. Lin Yun felt that he was saved. But how to trick the ancestral master empress into descending to the lower realm? And how to make her agree to be intimate with him? This was a big problem. As for letting her directly resolve the hypocrites of the immortal Tao, Lin Yun felt that the possibility was very small. The other party would definitely seal her cultivation. In order to avoid the surveillance of the heavenly Tao and the divine punishment of the heavenly tribulation. But even if it was a half-finished product in the lower realm with a cultivation inferior to his own, it would be enough to solve his current crisis. I, Lin Yun, am willing to serve with my body, using both soft and hard tactics, coercion and inducement. At the necessary moment, I can even use underhanded methods against the ancestral master. I must make the ancestral master empress cultivate with me for 3 days and 3 nights. As long as I devour half of her cultivation, I can enter the ascension realm. What's so difficult about being invincible under heaven? The early realms in this book are body tempering realm, chi gathering realm, core condensation realm, spirit platform realm, divine ability realm, heavenly phenomenon realm, undergoing tribulation realm, void breaking realm, ascension realm. It should be easy to understand, basically the old set, so you, my esteemed readers, don't need to memorize them. In fact, these early realms are basically not even involved. Later, in the immortal realm arc, the male lead will be hunted by the ancestral master empress. Note, multiple female leads. Multiple female leads. Multiple female leads. Chapter 2. Lure the Empress Ancestor to the lower world. Lin Yun stood in the center of the sect's main hall. The devilish chi on his body had not completely dissipated, and his dark hair was casually draped. With a plan in mind, old Devil Lin was no longer so anxious. A faint smile hung on his handsome face. This kind of pressure was truly exhilarating. And that damn system, he hoped he wouldn't catch it. It actually delayed for a full 8,000 years. Do you know how I spent those 8,000 years? Cautiously, he began to seek immortality and Tao from a mere mortal. Without connections or an introduction token, the immortal sect would not accept a poor boy like him. He eventually joined the demonic path sacred sect, relying on his extraordinary cultivation talent. The ruthless Lin Yun overcoming all obstacles along the way. He eventually became the demonic sect saint, and after killing all his rivals, Lin Yun unhesitatingly became the sect master supreme. Then he challenged all the demonic sect magnates, his prestige unparalleled, making the Yin-Yang sacred sect the leader of the demonic path. His demonic might covered the world, dominating 3,000 lower realms, making countless righteous path immortal sects unable to raise their heads. It was precisely because of this that the 9 great immortal sects eventually joined forces to deal with him. Now that he had rebirth, the crisis of the sect being besieged was like a sharp blade hanging over his head. Only 3 days remained, but he had to stabilize the situation now. As footsteps sounded, Lin Yun collected his thoughts and looked outside the hall door. Those who dared to come find him at this time were probably them. Senior brother, are you all right? Was that devilish chi just now because someone made you angry again? It was so scary, but senior brother, you're so amazing. Junior sister Lu Sweki pounced over coquettishly, her pink gauze skirt gently swaying. Her features were picturesque, and her eyes, as they darted around, held a hint of innocence and allure. Her cherry lips were slightly parted, and a close scent wafted to him. Her voice was clear with a slight tremor, vaguely revealing adoration and dependence. Lin Yun's mouth curved. It was indeed his junior sister. His smile deepened. Seeing his junior sister again, Lin Yun was in a good mood. One should know that when facing the siege of the immortal sects, she had bravely stood in front of him, like a moth flying into a flame, facing the torrent of flying swords. Lin Yun reached out and gently patted her shoulder. Little Sweki, don't be afraid. Senior brother has a sense of propriety. If those righteous path dogs dare to come, I can crush them with a single finger. Although he said that, his hand was not honest, gently sliding on her shoulder, lingering meaningfully for a moment. This caused Lu Sueki's pretty face to blush, and her eyes became even more blurred. Senior brother, I listened to you and have already learned the yin-yang sacred cultivation. When will we cultivate together? Now that Lin Yun had experienced rebirth, his mindset was different, and he no longer avoided his junior sister. Cough, cough, little girl, term of endearment, don't rush. Senior brother has something to do now. I'll accompany you to cultivate properly later. Lin Yun lowered his voice, his tone ambiguous, a hint of playfulness flashing in his eyes. Lu Sueki bit her lower lip and said coquettishly, Senior brother is so naughty. But her eyes were full of anticipation. She twisted her slender waist and retreated, leaving behind wafts of fragrance. Now, the traces of the 9 great immortal sects were almost undisguised, and the entire demonic sect was in a state of panic. But the few people closest to him still accompanied him to the very end. At this moment, the beautiful Master Yun Xueji also rushed over. Her purple robes fluttered, her face was like a flower, and her proud curves were faintly discernible, inspiring rich imagination. She frowned at Lin Yun, her tone concerned. Yun'er, has something happened again? Why don't you leave? Lin Yun smiled slightly, stepped forward slowly, and gazed at her face at close range. His voice was deep and magnetic. Master, rest assured, disciple already has a brilliant plan. I will surely turn this calamity into a blessing. As he spoke, his hand inadvertently touched her slender wrist, giving it a gentle squeeze, and an enchanting aura permeated the air. Yun Xueji was slightly stunned, her pretty face flushed, and she chided, You child, you're getting more and more presumptuous. But a complex emotion flashed in her eyes, seemingly reproachful, yet also expectant. Being a demonic sect, they naturally had no worldly doctrines. Moreover, the two had been together for several thousand years. After Yun Xueji left, the cold and beautiful senior sister Ling Xuanxue followed closely and walked in. Her silver hair was like snow, her eyes were cold as knives, and her sword-like brows were slightly furrowed. Seeing Lin Yun looking at her with a playful smile, she let out an annoyed cold snort. Sect Master Junior brother, don't be arrogant. The strength of the 9 great immortal sects is extraordinary. What plan do you have? Although her tone was cold, as she approached, her icy fragrance and graceful figure made Lin Yun's heart flutter. Senior sister always had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. In fact, she cared for him the most. He walked forward with a wicked smile, wrapped his arm around her soft waist, and leaned his lips close to her ear. He whispered, Xuanxue senior sister, don't worry. Your senior brother has plenty of methods. Even an ice mountain like you could be melted. Ling Xuanxue's delicate body trembled. Her silver teeth bit lightly. An annoyance flashed in her eyes, but she did not retreat. At this moment of life and death, she no longer wanted to hide her true feelings. 10 minutes later, Ling Xuanxue walked out of the main hall, her pretty face as red as if it were about to drip blood. After appeasing the 3 most important people, Lin Yun was ready to get down to business. After all, time was running out. Just now, he had only indulged in some playful banter and physical contact. Otherwise, once the sparks flew, it would take at least a day and a night to settle down. In the depths of the secret chamber, dim candlelight flickered. Lin Yun sat cross-legged on a futon, devilish chi swirling like ink. He offered a secret method from the ancestral master's legacy, lighting a specially made ethereal incense. The incense smoke curled upwards, soaring into the sky, carrying his thoughts to the immortal realm. Empress Ancestor Ji Xiao above, Lin Yun, disciple of the yin-yang sacred sect and current sect master, salutes you. Lin Yun's voice was deep and solemn. The sect is now facing a siege by the 9 great immortal sects in grave danger. I earnestly request the Empress to descend to the lower realm to save us. Disciple already has a thunderous plan. As long as Ancestral Master descends, without even needing to act, we can overcome this crisis. The incense smoke ascended, crossing boundaries, reaching directly into the immortal realm. In the immortal realm, in the sleeping quarters of the 9 Heavens Palace, Ji Xiao sat on her throne, surrounded by flowing immortal qi. She wore a white gown like colored glaze, outlining her exquisite curves. Her waist was slender like a willow. Her chest curves rose and fell proudly, exuding a fatal allure. Her face was sculpted like ice and snow, her brows like distant mountains, her eyes like stars, and her red lips were lightly pursed, revealing coolness and nobility. Her dark hair cascaded like a waterfall, scattered over her shoulders, faintly revealing her fair skin and collarbones. Her beauty was sensual, yet with a hint of forbidden allure, enough to make any man who saw her heart pound and mouth go dry. She closed her eyes to rest, the aura of an immortal king subtly emanating, the surrounding immortal chi rising and falling like tides. However, the ethereal incense from the secret chamber suddenly invaded her divine sense. She abruptly opened her eyes, a hint of displeasure flashing within them. Lower realm ant, derogatory term for Lin Yun. How dare you disturb my cultivation? Ji Xiao snorted coldly, her voice like ice striking jade, clear and melodious. But after probing with her divine sense, her brows furrowed slightly. It was a distress signal from the yin-yang sacred sect. The sect was once her father's painstaking effort and last wish. Although she had ascended for tens of thousands of years, it was still her root. A siege by the 9 great immortal sects. A bunch of righteous path hypocrites. She sneered inwardly, but the risks of descending to the lower realm made her hesitate. The heavenly Tao rules were strict. If she descended, her realm would be suppressed, and she might even face heavenly tribulation and divine punishment. But if the sect were to be annihilated, her father's last wish would also vanish into thin air, and she herself would probably be plagued by heart demons and karmic obstruction in the future. She looked down at her palm, where a boundary-breaking stone, shimmering with an ethereal glow, lay quietly. This was a reward once bestowed by the Immortal Alliance, which could reduce the risks of descending to the lower realm. But she would also have to seal her cultivation to the void-breaking realm to avoid attracting heavenly Tao retribution. Forget it, for the sake of the sect. I can only take the risk. Ji Xiao gritted her teeth, a look of determination flashing in her eyes. In any case, if things became unmanageable, she could simply return to the immortal realm. She rose, immortal chi surging, and followed the spatial coordinates. The light of the boundary-breaking stone enveloped her. Carrying her figure across the world barrier, she thus descended to the lower realm. In the demonic domain's secret chamber, Lin Yun was anxiously waiting, wondering what if she ignored him. Suddenly, the space within the secret chamber began to distort. Lin Yun's heart rejoiced. It truly worked. A dazzling white light suddenly appeared, and Ji Xiao's figure slowly condensed. She descended like a fairy, her exquisite beauty startling Lin Yun. His throat tightened, his mouth went dry, and his heart began to pound. Was he going to cultivate with her? He couldn't wish for anything more. This woman was truly too beautiful. Upon closer inspection, she was actually a woman of extraordinary talent. Her figure was dreamlike and ethereal, sensual yet with a cool aloofness, simply a paragon of beauty that men dreamed of. Lin Yun quickly composed himself, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. This was a critical moment, a matter of life and death. He absolutely could not be soft-hearted. If she agreed, then so be it. If not, don't blame me for being impolite. He had already prepared the god-slaying dagger, a sinister treasure and a one-time consumable. He could strike her when she was unprepared, completely sealing her cultivation, forcing her to cultivate with him. Chapter 3. If so, then force the Empress ancestor. Ji Xiao, the Empress. Her long, black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a cold, superior gaze. She wore a magnificent palace gown, its skirts spreading out like clouds and mist, exuding an unparalleled aura of power. However, when her gaze fell upon Lin Yun, that arrogance and disdain almost overflowed from her very bones. She scrutinized Lin Yun, the current supreme of the yin-yang sacred sect, from head to toe, her lips curling into a sneer of disdain. Although this was once her sect and her father's legacy, it was now too distant for her. Her descent to the lower realm was merely to fulfill a karma. Whether it succeeded or not, it had nothing to do with her. Mortal of the lower realm, disturbing this empress's cultivation, for what purpose? Her voice was as cold as ice, carrying an undeniable authority. Each word was like a hailstorm falling from a great height, striking Lin Yun's heart. It seemed she was difficult to deal with. As expected, there was a clear distinction between immortals and mortals. Lin Yun suppressed the displeasure in his heart. He cupped his hands and said, "Empress above, this junior has presumptuously come, truly because the sect is in crisis and I had no other choice. The yin-yang sacred sect is currently under siege by the righteous immortal sects. They disregard martial ethics, uniting dozens of sects, having plotted for a long time, intending to annihilate our sect in one fell swoop. If the Empress stands idly by, our sect will surely be reduced to ashes. I implore Empress Ancestral Master to lend a helping hand." Ji Xiao frowned slightly at his words, a flicker of impatience in her phoenix eyes. She snorted lightly, her voice still cold. "Under siege by the righteous immortal sects? You, a mere lower realm sect. How could you be worth my intervention? Moreover, This empress has currently sealed her own cultivation, so her strength might not even be as great as yours. You seeking me out is nothing more than wishful thinking. Let me ask you, do you have a brilliant plan? If not, this empress has no time to play such boring games with you. Upon hearing this, Lin Yun's gaze involuntarily fell upon Ji Xiao's exquisite face. Her skin was like snow, her curves graceful, her demeanor noble and alluring. Even just sitting quietly, she seemed like a banished immortal from the heavens, making people dare not look directly at her. He swallowed, feigning composure. The opponent was indeed arrogant. It seemed he had to strike first. A glint of cunning flashed in Lin Yun's eyes. A brilliant plan? Yes. We get married, and you become my Tao companion. We cultivate together in the bridal chamber. At that time, I will be invincible under heaven and will surely resolve the sex crisis. Ji Xiao's beautiful face instantly froze at his words. Her phoenix eyes widened, looking at Lin Yun with some disbelief. She slowly rose, her aura pressing down like a storm, her voice so cold it seemed to freeze the air. What did you say? A mere mortal of the lower realm dares to speak such disrespectful words to this empress. You seek death. Her slender palm lifted slightly, and a terrifying spiritual energy fluctuation condensed in her palm. She clearly intended to teach this ignorant Lin Yun a lesson. However, Lin Yun had anticipated this. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he had already secretly gripped the god-slaying dagger in his hand. This cursed dagger, obtained by chance, was specially refined to seal the cultivation of high-level cultivators, and it was extremely sinister. He lunged forward fiercely, his figure extremely fast, the dagger transforming into a black streak. It pierced Ji Xiao's lower abdomen with extreme precision, then became illusory and entered her body, only to see spiritual light, talismanic incantation flickering, instantly sealing her peak body integration realm cultivation. Ji Xiao's spiritual energy suddenly stagnated, and she retreated a step, her face pale, her eyes filled with shock, anger, and a hint of fear. You dare! Ji Xiao gritted her teeth, her voice trembling, filled with endless humiliation and rage. Her own cultivation had already been sealed by herself. Now, even if she wanted to unseal it and fight with all her might, it was too late. Ji Xiao had never imagined that she, the dignified empress, would be so humiliated and schemed against by a mortal of the lower realm. She tried to mobilize her spiritual energy to counterattack, but found that her internal spiritual energy was completely locked, leaving her to watch Lin Yun approach helplessly. Lin Yun sneered, a hint of greed and triumph in his eyes. Empress Ancestral Master, now that things have come to this, our body integration is the best strategy. At that time, I will gain your cultivation, and you will also regain your freedom. The sect left by your father can also be preserved, and then you can ascend. You and I will have no further entanglement. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Ji Xiao's face was ashen, tears glistening in her phoenix eyes, but she stubbornly glared at Lin Yun. You despicable scoundrel. This empress would rather die than comply. If I ever recover my cultivation, I will surely tear you to shreds. Lin Yun remained unmoved, a cruel glint in his eyes. Then don't blame me for being heartless. With life and death at stake, he certainly wouldn't be soft-hearted now. As for later, that could be dealt with later. With a wave of his hand, he set up a restriction in the secret chamber, completely isolating this space. Then he pulled out the golden, shimmering divine rank dual cultivation card from his embrace. As magic power was poured into it, the card transformed into a golden light, enveloping the two of them. Immediately, a strange and enchanting aura permeated the air. Inside the secret chamber, the fluorescent light flickered, illuminating Ji Xiao's exquisite figure. Her figure was slender, her curves graceful, her skin like congealed fat, her waist soft as a willow, her chest rising and falling, exuding a fatal allure. Even with her heart full of rage, her beauty was as pure as moonlight, intoxicating. Lin Yun's breathing quickened, his gaze greedily sweeping over every inch of her skin. His throat bobbed, his heart completely ignited by desire and the urge to break through. Ji Xiao gritted her teeth, trying to struggle, but the power of that strange dagger suppressed her resistance without a trace. Not only could she not raise her cultivation, but that card also seemed to contain a powerful aphrodisiac poison. She felt her will being eroded by some force. Her whole body felt feverish. This filled her with shame and anger. Tears streamed down her face, and her voice was low and trembling. You will regret this. I, Ji Xiao, swear that if I ever recover my cultivation, I will make your life worse than death. Unless you never ascend to the upper realm in this lifetime. However, Lin Yun ignored her threats. He slowly approached, his hands touching her cold yet soft skin. Ji Xiao trembled all over, humiliation and anger almost drowning her. Inside the secret chamber, the air became hot and enchanting. Her moans were sometimes angry, sometimes helpless, ultimately suppressed to an inaudible whisper by the rush of spiritual energy. And Lin Yun's low laughter carried triumph and satisfaction as endless spiritual energy surged within him, his cultivation steadily rising. Who knew how much time had passed? Perhaps several hours. After it ended, Ji Xiao lay limply on the ground, her clothes disheveled, covering her jade-like body. The tears in her phoenix eyes had not yet dried. Ji Xiao bit her lower lip, her gaze like daggers stabbing at Lin Yun, her voice low and full of hatred. Lin Yun, you despicable and shameless scoundrel. I, Ji Xiao, will never rest until I see you dead. For today's humiliation, I will repay you 100-fold. Lin Yun straightened his clothes, a triumphant smile on his lips, but he glanced at her with disdain. Empress, now that things have come to this, you and I are on the same boat. When I become invincible under heaven and lead the sect to unify the lower realm, your father will be pleased in the afterlife. However, after speaking, Lin Yun fell into contemplation. Why did this dual cultivation card not seem so powerful? Didn't it say half of the cultivation? Why did he still not feel like he had a breakthrough? Lin Yun subconsciously looked at the empty system panel. Then his eyes widened. He saw that a progress bar had actually appeared on it. Divine rank dual cultivation card in use. Current progress, 10%. Lin Yun took a deep breath. I knew this system was a scam. In other words, he still needed to do this at least 10 more times. Lin Yun's eyes turned crimson as he looked at Ji Xiao. This made the already grief-stricken Empress shiver. You beast, what else do you want to do? Chapter 4, if one time doesn't work, then 10 times. Lin Yun's gaze, crimson with desire, turned towards Ji Xiao. This made the already grief-stricken and desperate Empress ancestral master shiver. You beast, what else do you want to do? Don't come any closer. Whoa, I beg you. Ji Xiao was on the verge of collapse. She had never experienced anything like this before. Back in the lower realm, she was a proud prodigy and a demonic woman. She disdained the young geniuses of both the righteous path and the demonic path. Naturally, she had never had a Tao companion. After arriving in the immortal realm, she was also exceptionally talented. She became the saintess of the Immortal Alliance, and furthermore, she founded her own immortal sect in the immortal realm. She became the founding old ancestor. It could be said that she had never suffered such hardships in these thousands of years, and she had never endured such humiliation. Seeing this insidious villain approach again, Ji Xiao was so wronged she wanted to cry. How hateful! Her cultivation was currently sealed. To unseal it, she would naturally need corresponding magic power to activate it. Lin Yun took a deep breath. There was no other way. He could only continue. Fortunately, his body was strong. He could still handle it. The air in the secret chamber seemed to ignite again. A fervent qi permeated the space. Lin Yun looked at Ji Xiao's exquisite figure once more. She was locked by restriction, unable to move, her phoenix eyes filled with anger and humiliation. Tears shimmered at the corners of her eyes, but they could not hide her stunning beauty. He had been too excited just now and hadn't appreciated her properly. Now, Lin Yun's passion reignited instantly. Her skin was as translucent as white jade, exuding a faint glow, her curves soft and graceful. Her long hair lay disheveled on her shoulders, adding a touch of unintentional allure. However, her eyes now burned with endless hatred. Every breath seemed to suppress towering rage, wishing she could tear Lin Yun in front of her into pieces. Recalling the wonderful taste from just now, Lin Yun's breathing became rapid and heavy. Thinking about it now, this card didn't seem so bad after all. This was clearly a welfare card. He just hoped there was enough time, but 3 days and 3 nights. That should be enough, right? He was only afraid of getting too carried away and forgetting the time. His gaze greedily swept over Ji Xiao's body, his atoms apple-bobbing. There's nothing I can do. Don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame those hypocrites of the righteous path. I just don't want to die. Even so, a hint of hidden complexity flashed in his eyes. He was indeed a bit excessive. If he ever fell into her hands, she could do whatever she pleased with him. But for now, he still had to take a gamble. Ji Xiao closed her eyes. Forget it. Just treat it as a dream. Her voice was laced with unwillingness and anger. Yet, it carried a hint of helpless trembling. That voice, like a feather, brushed lightly across the small secret chamber, stirring a forbidden throbbing. At the same time, it pricked the faint trace of conscience deep within Lin Yun's heart. But he quickly suppressed this hesitation, his eyes filled only with greedy desire. Ji Xiao gritted her teeth. She had thought she could accept it calmly, but now she found she still couldn't face it. She tried to mobilize a trace of spiritual power within her body to resist, but found all efforts were like a stone sinking into the sea. Tears finally slipped from her eyes, her voice low and trembling. "You despicable villain. I would rather my soul flying away and spirit scattering than suffer such humiliation from you. When I recover my cultivation, I will make you pay a blood debt. I will make you wish for death, but unable to die for 10,000 years. I will extract your soul and use it to light sky lanterns." Her curses pierced Lin Yun like sharp blades. His expression changed slightly, but he quickly regained his cold smirk. "You are in my hands now. If you continue to be stubborn, I won't let you off easily. Moreover, the cultivation I'm absorbing is only your sealed cultivation, not your entire magic power. The quality of an immortal's magic power rank is higher, causing a qualitative change." Lin Yun spoke righteously and shamelessly, but he also knew that his actions today had pushed him into an abyss of endless enmity with this empress. If he ever ascended to the immortal realm one day, he would probably be hunted for 10,000 years, provided he could live that long. Ji Xiao resigned herself, no longer speaking. She just bit her lip tightly. But soon, Lin Yun pride opened her jaw. She couldn't resist old devil Lin at all. Lin Yun's low chuckle carried triumph and satisfaction, but his heart was pounding wildly. Empress Ji Xiao's beauty and anger intertwined. It gave him both the pleasure of conquest and a subtle sense of unease. Could he really escape her pursuit in the future? Or should he just hide in the lower realm for the rest of his life? Looking at her tear-streaked face, a trace of guilt involuntarily welled up in Lin Yun's heart. No matter what, she was now considered his person, wasn't she? But this guilt was quickly devoured. He told himself that all of this was for survival, for power. His junior sister and senior sister were still waiting for him. Countless demonic path disciples had placed their last hope on him. How could he retreat because of something like conscience? Unbeknownst to them, time passed little by little. Ji Xiao didn't know how many times she had fainted. Outside, the sun rose and set, and rose again, and the progress finally reached 90%. As Lin Yun moved, Ji Xiao woke up again. Her voice echoed in the secret chamber, like a suppressed string trembling. You will regret this. My hatred, Ji Xiao's hatred, will be like a shadow, never fading." Ji Xiao had never imagined she would endure such humiliation. Her fingertips curled slightly, trying to grasp something, but she was powerless under the restriction. Only deep hatred for Lin Yun burned in her eyes. But Lin Yun's heart was filled with joy. His cultivation had reached its limit. Only one final barrier remained. But Ji Xiao hated him to death. The tears in her eyes never dried, her gaze like a knife piercing Lin Yun, her voice low and full of hatred. "Lin Yun, you despicable and shameless scoundrel. I, Ji Xiao, will never rest until you are dead. I will repay today's humiliation 100-fold. You've said that many times already." Lin Yun let out a long sigh, his spiritual power surging, his cultivation directly breaking through to a new realm. A storm was stirred up throughout the entire secret chamber. Although his goal was achieved, a hint of complexity flashed in his eyes. Ji Xiao's hatred pierced his heart like a knife, making him feel a chill. By the way, was there any chance of making her fall in love with him? After all, they had been in love for 3 days. If he hadn't been extraordinarily gifted, he might have died on her. Actually, he was a little reluctant to let go. However, the effect of the god-slaying dagger didn't seem to wear off that quickly. After he was done, perhaps there would still be a chance. He straightened his clothes, a meaningful smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. "I'm also doing this to survive, and if there's an opportunity, I'll be good to you too. No matter what, you are my woman. If you ever face a life or death crisis, I will also risk my life." With that, he turned and left, leaving Ji Xiao alone in the secret chamber. Her eyes burned with endless hatred and humiliation. "I will definitely kill you." Chapter 5 Demonic Power, 100 times, 100 times. Inside the secret chamber, the goose egg-sized luminous pearls embedded in the stone walls illuminated the 4 walls. However, they couldn't hide the heavy scent and oppressive aura. Empress Ancestor Ji Xiao leaned against the white jade soft bed. Her body was covered in messy marks. Her snow-white skin was crisscrossed with red marks. The sweat had not yet dried, seemingly emitting a fragrant scent. Those were the masterpieces left by Lin Yun. Due to the excessive number and intensity, her breathing was still uneven, and her chest rose and fell slightly. Her fair face was filled with humiliation and anger. There was also a trace of a beautiful, flushed afterglow. Ji Xiao trembled as she used her slender fingers to prop herself up, and after a long while, she managed to sit upright. The scattered gauze skirt and the golden dragon-patterned doo-doo on the floor shimmered under the luminous pearls. Gritting her teeth, she suppressed the feeling of weakness throughout her body and bent down to pick up the thin, cicada wing-like garment. Her fingers visibly trembled as they touched the garment, and a flash of hatred crossed her eyes. She clutched the doo-doo until her knuckles turned white. Then she silently lowered her head and put it on, her movements slow but full of stubbornness. Then she draped the gauze skirt over her body, covering her graceful figure. She remained peerlessly charming. However, the cold elegance and killing intent emanating from her bones could not be concealed. And now she remembered a very important question. She had been violated by that beast so many times. But her cultivation was completely sealed, and she couldn't even open her storage space. Ji Xiao closed her eyes slightly, a hint of doubt in her heart. Her beautiful brows furrowed. If, by any chance, then she would seal the seed of life and consider it later. She would absolutely not give birth to that beast child. Ji Xiao began to close her eyes and regulate her breathing, but the condition of her body left her in despair. She couldn't mobilize even a trace of magical power. Meanwhile, Lin Yun was beaming with satisfaction. The fellow stood on the stone platform outside the secret chamber, his eyes closed, feeling the turbulent magical power within his body. Ascension Realm, the pinnacle of the world. Those old monsters in the Holy Land might also be able to touch this threshold. But how could those old, undying ones who dared not undergo heavenly tribulation compare to his wise and mighty self? He grinned, a smug smile on his lips. Tomorrow, the allied army of the 9 great immortal sects would arrive at the gates of the Yin-Yang sacred sect. Those self-proclaimed righteous path fellows called him demonic sect and wished they could uproot him. Alas, they never dreamed that he was no longer the same as before. Lin Yun narrowed his eyes, secretly suppressing the surging aura within him, planning to give those immortal sect brats a big surprise. He even intended to directly summon the heavenly tribulation then and there, turning them all to ashes. With a thought, he flashed and headed straight for the sect's main hall. The beautiful maids and personal disciples he encountered along the way all bowed subserviently to old Devil Lin, trembling with fear. Greetings, Sect Master Supreme. They wished they could lower their heads to the ground. Lin Yun walked with an expressionless face. Everyone knew that the demonic sect supreme, old Devil Lin, had a wicked and capricious personality, enjoyed killing in dreams, and possessed the remnants of Chao Wei's style. Lin Yun had to start acting now, otherwise it might be too late. As the sect master supreme of the Yin-Yang sacred sect, Lin Yun waved his hand, issuing a secret order, directly convening the highest level elder meeting. All 12 protectors were present, not one missing, including Yun Xueji and Ling Shuangxue, these 2 protector elders, and the demonic sect's saintess and junior sister, Lu Sueki. All of them stood in the hall, attending this emergency meeting. In his previous life, Lin Yun had also held a similar meeting. However, the results were unsatisfactory, and many elders and disciples lost their fighting spirit. But this time, who would dare to sing a different tune? Lin Yun would have him dead. The atmosphere in the hall was as heavy as lead, as the news of the immortal Dao sects forming an allied army to attack had already spread. Everyone in the demonic sect was in a panic, each looking as if their father had died, heads bowed, not daring to utter a sound. The wind outside the hall swept in withered leaves, which rustled softly as they fell on the bluestone floor, making the place seem even more filled with death chi. The candlelight flickered in the hall, casting alternating light and shadow on everyone's faces, who remained silent like a flock of sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Lin Yun sat down grandly in the main seat, his gaze sweeping over the elders and protectors below, his face so dark it could drip ink. These useless people were still so incompetent. He snorted coldly, his voice not loud, but it exploded like thunder. The 9 great immortal sects want to destroy my Yin-Yang sacred sect. And this is how you act? Each of you looks like you're in mourning. Are you all scared? Where is your demonic nature? Tell me. Lin Yun's voice suddenly grew louder. At these words, the hall became even quieter, as if even breathing sounds softened a few points. Everyone looked at each other, no one daring to respond. But in this dead silence, Left Protector Hong Lai stepped forward. Hong Lai looked like a tough character at first glance. He was burly, with a full beard, his black robe covering his muscular physique, standing there like an iron tower. He had been the Yin-Yang sacred sect for over 1,000 years, renowned for his ferocity, one of the top 2 ruthless figures among the 12 protectors. He had countless blood on his hands, and in terms of seniority, he was even older than Lin Yun. Even Yun Xueji and Ling Shuangxue had to be polite to him. He narrowed his eyes and spoke in a gruff, booming voice that carried an unquestionable authority. Lord Demon Venerable, it's not that we're afraid. It's that the allied army of the 9 great immortal sects is truly too formidable. They have the heavenly profound sect's Tao artifact, the mountain suppressing seal, and the Zixiao sect's 9 heavens thunder array, not to mention countless other magic treasures. With our meager resources, a head-on fight is just suicide. I think it's better to avoid the limelight first and wait. However, before he could finish, a cold light flashed in Lin Yun's eyes, and a chilling aura emanated from his body. In his previous life, it was this useless person who disrupted morale. It was bad enough that he used his seniority to feign obedience in normal times, but now he dared to stir up trouble. Disrupting morale before battle. You seek death. Lin Yun roared. He suddenly rose, flicked his sleeve, and a violent surge of magical power directly exploded, transforming into an invisible demonic cloud giant palm. With a smack, it struck Hong Lai. There was a crisp sound, like a watermelon bursting, and Hong Lai's 2-meter-tall, burly body didn't even let out a grunt. His entire being instantly exploded into a cloud of blood mist, bones and flesh splattering whoosh across the floor. His spiritual embryo divine soul had just appeared and was about to flee, but it was also instantly annihilated by old Devil Lin, who was already prepared with a single finger. Crimson blood flowed across the bluestone floor of the main hall, and the pungent smell of blood made one's scalp tingle. On that thick hall pillar, a piece of broken flesh was still embedded, hanging precariously, swaying twice before falling off. The main hall fell into dead silence in an instant, everyone dumbfounded. Hong Lai was the left protector, a formidable figure whose stomp in the sect would make the ground tremble. This was an old ancestor of the undergoing tribulation realm. He was gone with just one slap. Even his divine soul was directly shattered into dust. Yun Xueji's pretty face was pale, her fingers clenching her sleeves, her nails digging into her flesh. Yunner, he's still so brutal, but she was somewhat excited. Ling Shuangxue's pupils constricted, a hint of fear flashing in her eyes. Sect Master Senior Brother has become even stronger. This is a good thing. Junior sister Lu Sueki was so scared that she let out a low ah, shrinking back, almost losing her balance. As the demonic sect Sanus, she was actually somewhat unqualified, but who could blame her when she had such a powerful senior brother? The elders below were all dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost, not daring to breathe loudly. This was the current Demon Venerable, the leader of the demonic path, the strongest supreme of many demonic path sects. Lin Yun slowly retracted his hand. He sneered, his voice deep, but carrying an oppressive power that crushed everything, even a hint of madness. Scared? I'll show you what fear is. Anyone who dares to say another disheartening word, this is your fate. His gaze, like a knife, swept over everyone in the hall, the corners of his mouth slightly upturned, revealing a meaningful smile. The magical power of the Ascension realm surged within him, and although not fully released, the oppressive feeling already made the air in the hall heavy enough to freeze. The smell of blood still permeated the air, and Hong Lai's blood still flowed on the ground, and everyone's hearts were pounding in their throats. If the 9 great immortal sects dare to come tomorrow, I want them to have no return. All of you, prepare for battle and unleash our demonic Tao's arrogant spirit. Even if we die, we will die standing. If we die, we face the heavens. If we don't, we live for 10,000 years. Lin Yun spoke each word distinctly, his voice not loud, but it struck everyone's heart like a heavy hammer. Did you all hear clearly? Old Devil Lin chastised this group of demonic cultivators and old monsters as if he were scolding elementary school students. But not a single person dared to say no. Instead, they all began to perk up. After all, they were demonic cultivators, all psychopaths who were not afraid of death at heart. As long as someone dared to lead the charge, they would fight fearlessly. Outside the hall, the wind grew stronger, like a war horn before a great battle. Meanwhile, inside the secret chamber, Ji Xiao had already put on her clothes and sat on the white jade bed. She had tried every method, but the restriction remained as solid as a rock. This filled her phoenix eyes with a tidal wave of killing intent. Ji Xiao whispered, "The humiliation of today, I have remembered. One day, I will make you kneel before me and beg for your life." Her voice was so low it was almost inaudible. It was like a curse from the depths of hell, echoing in the secret chamber for a long time. But she didn't know that old Devil Lin wouldn't let her go so easily. The seal of the god-slaying dagger was still effective. He had to do it 100 more times. Chapter 6: The Impatient Little Sister. Inside the hall, as Lin Yun mobilized, The atmosphere was no longer as oppressive as it had been initially. However, it was still covered in dark clouds. Everyone knew that at the latest by noon tomorrow, the 9 great immortal sects' allied army would be at their gates. According to the latest intelligence from their spies, the leaders of the 9 great righteous immortal sects seemed to be personally leading their forces. It could be said that all their elites were deployed. On the demonic path side, their yin-yang sacred sect was already the largest demonic sect. However, the other demonic sects had not come to their aid this time. The reasons were somewhat complex. The yin-yang sacred sect was inherently overbearing and powerful. The sect master supreme was even more tyrannical, let alone those hypocritical immortal sects. Even many demonic path sects have been suppressed and offended. And the deeper reasons were even more complex. The yin-yang sacred sect, in fact, was not considered a demonic sect a long time ago. Its founder was the yin-yang sacred sovereign, who enlightened the world, widely accepted disciples, and taught without discrimination. He was one of the pillars of the immortal Tao. But ever since the yin-yang sacred sovereign's lifespan ran out and he passed away, his daughter inherited the position of sect master, and everything began to change. That female devil king, it was said, possessed unparalleled cultivation talent and astonishing wisdom. Her beauty was also exceptional, earning her the title of the #1 beauty in the world. However, she had no interest in managing the sect. Moreover, she was cold and almost devoid of emotions, which led to the sect's steady decline. The atmosphere within the sect also worsened, with constant minor frictions with other major sects. Relations repeatedly reached a freezing point. Some rebellious disciples even began to associate closely with various demonic sects, leading the righteous immortal sects to secretly refer to the yin-yang sacred sect as a demonic sect. But that female emperor devil king didn't care about any of this. Instead, she directly proclaimed herself the Devil King Ancestral Master. Because at that time, she had already shaken the world and suppressed a generation. Why should she explain her actions to outsiders? If anyone was unconvinced, she would directly suppress them, fighting until they submitted. During that period, all the best resources belonged to their yin-yang sacred sect. With the accumulation of countless resources, this female emperor's cultivation also advanced rapidly, becoming even more of a prodigy. This prosperous period continued for over 100 years, even after the female emperor ancestral master's ascension. Then, the conflicts completely erupted. By now, many things are actually no longer verifiable. But the reputation of the yin-yang sacred sect as a demonic sect was firmly established. In short, the yin-yang sacred sect was disliked by both the immortal and demonic paths. It maintained its position solely through military force. Especially with Lin Yun's arrival, this situation reached its peak again. He was even more excessive than the former female emperor ancestral master. She at least left some scraps for others. Old Devil Lin would not only eat everything clean, but also smash their pots. Spirit stone veins, for instance, would be completely mined until nothing was left. As for the medicinal pill fields of the various immortal sects, if he fancied any, he would dig them up 3 feet deep. Afterward, he would leave a few silver coins, claiming he had paid. As the saying goes, even if the deal falls through, goodwill remains. This was also one of the direct reasons why he achieved such terrifying cultivation in a short period. It came from murder and arson, coupled with his innate extraordinary talent, which was nothing short of prodigy level. He had cultivated the sect's highest mind cultivation technique, the yin-yang profound emperor sacred canon, to a realm that was the only one in history comparable to the female emperor ancestral master. He rightfully suppressed all devils and became the sect master supreme. Under such circumstances, the current yin-yang sacred sect was naturally isolated and without aid. Even if there were a few who wanted to help, seeing the immortal Tao's all-out offensive, they also backed down. It was simply trying to stop a chariot with a mantis's arm, utterly meaningless. Lin Yun was naturally well aware of all these circumstances. That's why he had been so desperate to self-destruct back then. But now, the situation was different. He had become an almost invincible existence. As for those hypocrites of the righteous path, as long as he revealed his cultivation, or hit it and killed 1 or 2 first, they would definitely start to retreat. If they all attacked together, he naturally wouldn't be an opponent. But if a large portion of them might die, then who would be the one to die? This was a very big problem. So the situation had been reversed. Lin Yun coldly looked at the elders and demonic sect elites present. He saw that although they were no longer as listless as if their fathers had died, they still lacked fighting spirit, which made him somewhat helpless. But there was nothing he could do. He couldn't expose his cultivation yet. Otherwise, there would definitely be spies among the people present. I emphasize once again, I am confident we can overcome this crisis. No matter what thoughts you have, just obey orders. If anyone disrupts morale or loafs around and tries to take advantage, I will send you to your death right now, implicating your entire clan, leaving no one from your family, old or young. As he spoke, old Devil Lin's aura intensified, as if he had become a true Devil King. Protector Ling, I now grant you the authority to enforce discipline and supervise the army. If anyone dares to feign compliance while secretly disobeying, I permit you to execute them first and report later. Ling Shuangshue's heart tightened, and she quickly stepped forward. I respectfully obey the Sect Master Supreme's command. Although she was Lin Yun's senior sister, her cultivation had long been surpassed. Lin Yun saw her cold and arrogant nature, exuding an aura of do not approach and a chilling murderous intent. He simply made her the enforcement elder, in charge of the sect's penal laws and order. It was also a way of putting her talents to good use. This position was actually very important, and he felt very relieved in trusting it to his senior sister. After all, there was something unclear between the two of them. Seeing this scene, everyone present was greatly alarmed. If this were the case, it would indeed be difficult. With this ice-cold female, Sword Saint supervising, and involving family members, they knew that she was truly capable of such actions. But the Devil King said he was confident in overcoming this great calamity, and they didn't know if it was true or false. Now, they could only fight with all their might, otherwise death awaited them either way. Elder Yun, open the sect's treasury and distribute medicinal pills, weapons, and all other supplies. Lin Yun then looked at his former master, Grand Elder Yun Shueji. I respectfully obey the sect master's command. Upon hearing this order, everyone finally felt a surge of excitement. Even if they were to die, they would die well-fed. Yin Shueji was actually the chief housekeeper, managing all provisions, expenses, cultivation quotas, and other resources. Lin Yun naturally wouldn't trust such important authority to anyone else. Having his former master do it was the best choice. Yin Shueji looked at Lin Yun with eyes as gentle as spring water. This was her proudest and most outstanding creation in her life. As for the relationship between these two, everyone in the demonic sect knew, but dared not speak of it. They were already in the demonic path, so why bother thinking so much? Let them do as they pleased. Subsequently, Lin Yun continuously issued commands. The massive machinery of the Yin-Yang demonic sect began to operate rapidly. Remember my words, with me here, the sky won't fall. As Lin Yun spoke, a trace of his Ascension Realm aura was once again revealed. Everyone present felt a chill in their hearts, promptly bowing in submission, fearing to be targeted by the Devil King. It seemed the Devil King's cultivation had another breakthrough. One must know that the Grand Protector who had just been killed was second only to him. Yet he had died cleanly and swiftly, under a single palm strike. They recognized that divine ability. It was precisely the Yin-Yang soul-devouring palm, which could directly annihilate the soul and even devour the opponent's divine soul power. It was one of the Yin-Yang sacred sect's highest secret arts. Some of the elders among them also knew it, but its power, compared to the Devil King's, was naturally as different as heaven and earth. Lin Yun's gaze, like lightning, swept over the sweating and trembling crowd. Now all of you scram. Remember, if you don't want to die, get moving. After everyone had left the main hall, Lin Yun remained seated on his high throne. Suddenly, some rustling sounds came from beside him, accompanied by faint footsteps. What are you doing here again? Lin Yun looked at his junior sister, Lu Sueki, who was sneaking out from behind, with a hint of amusement. She was much younger. Though called junior sister, she was actually the little sister he had picked up in the ice and snow years ago. He had always let Yin Shueji keep her by her side. Cultivating immortality knows no years. In a blink of an eye, several hundred years had passed, and his former junior sister had grown up, blossoming into a graceful young woman. Of course, for a cultivator, age actually held little meaning. Lu Sueki playfully shook her sect master senior brother's arm. Senior brother, you promised to take me out to play. I've been waiting for so many years. You always say you're busy. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back tomorrow. I don't want to regret. I don't want to leave any regrets. Lin Yun rubbed her little head. Looking at her delicate face, Lin Yun's eyes held a doting gaze. Have you really finished cultivating the Yin-Yang joyous sacred art? I've finished cultivating it. Lu Sueki seemed a bit impatient. With a burst of fragrant wind, she directly threw herself into her senior brother's arms, like a kitten, intimately nuzzling Lin Yun's cheek. Lin Yun wrapped his arm around her waist, gazing at her softly. A few days ago, before his rebirth, she had clung to him in the same way. But at that time, he was facing a life-or-death crisis and truly had no mind for such matters. So his junior sister ultimately died in his arms with regret. At that moment, his heart was bleeding. Although old Devil Lin had been heartless and unrighteous his entire life, There were always a few people in his life who had once illuminated him. But now, the situation had already been reversed. Was it still necessary? Chapter 7. Senior sister caught something embarrassing. Inside the main hall, only the sound of flickering candles could be heard. Lin Yun fell into a dilemma. He didn't seem very eager right now. These past 2 days, he had been shamelessly intimate with the ancestral Master Empress. Although he wasn't an ordinary person and was almost the number 1 person below the immortals. Although his body could handle it. Emotionally, it seemed like something was missing. Was it that junior sister wasn't alluring enough? Lin Yun looked down. She was wearing a black and red gauze dress, outlining her slender waist, her long hair scattered over her shoulders. Her fair cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes were a bit shy, but with a hint of determination. Lin Yun raised his eyebrows, his voice with a hint of teasing. Junior sister, are you really ready? At this crucial moment, how could a man say no? Lin Yun prepared to forcibly start things. Lu Sueki bit her lip, her body softly leaning against Lin Yun. She didn't know when it started. Her mind was full of Senior Brother's figure. In her eyes, Senior Brother was the best man in the heavens and on earth. Although in the eyes of others, her Senior Brother was just an unreasonable devil head. But from the day Senior Brother picked her up, her life belonged to Senior Brother. Everything she had was given by Senior Brother. Lu Sueki knew that, in fact, she was somewhat unqualified to be a saintess. Although her cultivation was barely passable, her talent was actually not bad, and with Senior Brother's help, she eventually reached the divine ability realm. But there was still a long way to go before reaching the threshold of the Heavenly Elephant realm. But Senior Brother was afraid that she would be bullied, afraid that she would be wronged. He insisted on letting her eliminate those personal disciple with profound cultivation and successfully take the position, recalling Senior Brother's care for her over the years. Lu Sueki had no hesitation in her heart. Instead, she was full of anticipation. Her voice was soft, but very serious. Senior Brother, I have really practiced the yin and yang joyous unification scripture, and I have even reached the 3rd level. Perhaps the great battle tomorrow will be fraught with danger. I want to cultivate with you and improve my cultivation. As she spoke, her face was as red as a ripe peach, her fingers clenching the corner of her skirt, but her eyes revealed a hint of expectation. Although Junior Sister was lying in Great Master Senior Brother's arms, she couldn't help but look up slightly at this moment, revealing her snow-white neck, her watery eyes full of anticipation. Lin Yun was stunned for a moment, then the corner of his mouth hooked up, smiling a little mischievously. In fact, this day should have come long ago. He sat up straight, holding Junior Sister's shoulders, looking her up and down. The curves under the gauze dress were looming, indeed, quite alluring. The little girl who used to follow behind him asking for candy had grown up. Wouldn't this be becoming a child bride? Thinking of this, old Devil Lin felt a little itchy in his heart, but pretended to be calm on the surface. Don't worry, the sect will be fine. Senior Brother won't let anything happen to you either. But if you're really ready, then Senior Brother will fulfill your wish. Senior Brother will ask you one last time. Are you afraid? Lu Sueki's face turned even redder. She lowered her head slightly and said softly, Senior Brother, I'm not afraid. Actually, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. And you're in the void-breaking realm. If I have a good thing with you, maybe I can break through to the Heavenly Elephant realm. She didn't know that Lin Yun had already broken through the realm. Now that the sect is facing a great calamity, I also want to do something to share the pressure for Senior Brother. She mustered her courage to look up, her eyes sparkling with tears, her voice so soft that it could melt people's hearts. Senior Brother, please, just help me. Lu Sueki's charming appearance was very alluring. It seemed that after finding such a reason, she could be even more righteous and awe-inspiring. Both of them were somewhat entering the state. It was as if they were playing a role-playing game. A trace of heat flashed in Lin Yun's eyes. His Adam's apple bobbed. He leaned down slightly and approached her, his breath spraying on her ear. He didn't expect there to be such a plot. Junior Sister was not bad either. In this way, it seemed that he was also doing it for the sect. The corner of Lin Yun's mouth curled up slightly. The arrow was on the string and had to be fired. Okay, you've begged me. How can Senior Brother not help? He put his arm around her and pulled her closer again. Lu Sueki gave a soft ah sound. Her body softened and fell into his arms, her face against his chest, her heart beating fast like a deer bumping around. Lin Yun greedily sniffed her ear. This kind of smell, familiar and yet strange, but equally alluring. This was the sect master hall. Generally speaking, no one dared to break in normally. Lin Yun was not afraid of anyone with no eyes disturbing his pleasure. The air seemed to be heating up. Lin Yun's fingers picked up a strand of Junior Sister's hair, playing with it around his fingertips. The soft touch from the other hand, sliding down her waist, made him narrow his eyes. Lu Sueki's body trembled. She closed her eyes and said softly, Senior Brother, I'm ready. As she spoke, her breathing became a little rapid. Lu Sweki bit her lip, letting out a soft groan. Seeing that junior sister's gauze skirt began to slowly slip off. Her snow-white shoulders and collarbone had already been revealed. The two were also becoming more and more presumptuous. However, just as the two were so sticky that they couldn't be separated, the door was pushed open with a bang. Ling Shuangxue stood at the door, holding her sword in her hand. Her face was a little complicated. Obviously, her heart was not calm. Seeing this scene, a flash of sting flashed in her eyes, her brows furrowed, but her voice was still cold. Sect Master Supreme, Lu Sweki, what are you doing? Ling Shuangxue originally had something urgent to ask for instructions, but she didn't expect to encounter such a scene. Although this was actually nothing. After all, the man was willing and the woman was willing. However, the relationship between them was really a bit complicated. After all, not long ago, she was still teased by the sect master junior brother for a while. At this critical moment of the sect's great calamity, many people were under great psychological pressure, almost going crazy. Things that they couldn't let go of on weekdays now seemed to have become commonplace. Lu Sweki was startled by the sudden reprimand. She quickly bounced up from Lin Yun's arms, her gauze skirt not properly arranged, revealing half of her fragrant shoulders. She explained a little flustered, "Senior sister, it's not what you think. I'm preparing for the great battle." Lu Sweki was still a little afraid of this Ice Queen, Great Master senior sister. Moreover, she felt a little aggrieved in her heart. She finally almost succeeded in her long-cherished wish. "What are you doing out here at this time? Even if you also like Sect Master Senior Brother, you can change the time. Anyway, I don't care. A man like Sect Master Senior Brother cannot be bound by any woman. Even Master cannot." The three of them together, maybe there was a slight chance. Lin Yun slowly sat up straight, put his fingers on his nose, and sniffed. Looking sideways at Ling Shuangxue, his tone with a hint of provocation. "My good senior sister, not knocking on the door again? Disturbing the Sect Master Supreme's good deeds. According to the sacred sect law, what should be the crime?" Lin Yun was obviously doing this on purpose. In fact, he had no way to deal with Ling Shuangxue either. After all, when his wings were not yet full, he had been taught by senior sister a lot. Although it couldn't be said that there was any psychological shadow. But overall, they were somewhat respectful as guests. Of course, sometimes this feeling was just a kind of fun. Ling Shuangxue didn't speak. Her eyes swept back and forth between Lin Yun and Lu Sweki, her hand holding the hilt of her sword trembling slightly. Her heart was like an overturned bottle of mixed feelings. She had watched this sect master junior brother grow up. She had long had something unspeakable in her heart. But the other party grew too fast. So fast that she didn't have time to express her feelings, and eventually things became more and more complicated. So she didn't resist when she was teased before. She didn't even know if she could live after tomorrow. She had also thought about it. Maybe she should just let it go. But every time she saw his face, her heart would still beat wildly. She gritted her teeth, her voice low. "I have something important to report to the Sect Master Supreme. Junior sister, please avoid it for a while." Lu Sweki lowered her head, tears almost falling down, and said softly, "Senior sister, I'm doing it for the sect." Lin Yun interrupted impatiently, stood up, released his aura, pressing down so that the candlelight dimmed. All right, blame me if you want. If you can't stand it, why don't you join in? Let's three cultivate together. Tomorrow we will definitely beat the 9 major sects to the ground looking for their teeth." As soon as these words came out, Ling Shuangxue's face turned pale, and a trace of shame and anger flashed in her eyes. She stared at Lin Yun, her eyes filled with both anger and hidden sourness. In fact, with her personality, she had joined the wrong sect. She should have gone to the righteous immortal sects to be a saintess. Ling Shuangxue wanted to scold him for being shameless, but her throat was blocked. She hated his roguelike appearance, but she couldn't bear to really fall out with him. Especially now, maybe everyone would be a pile of lust tomorrow. She took a deep breath, suppressed the mess in her heart, and said coldly, "Thank you for Sect Master Junior Brother's kindness. I'm fine, you continue." After saying that, she turned around and left, her steps a little messy, and when the door closed, there was a bang, shaking the candlelight. Lu Sweki shrank beside Lin Yun and said softly, "Senior brother, senior sister seems really angry." Lin Yun didn't care, put his arm around her shoulder, and said softly, Angry is angry, but she still can't bear to part with me." "Oh, then should we continue?" Junior sister was a little expectant. Lin Yun shrugged, "Forget it, don't worry. Nothing will happen tomorrow." He had just barely become interested, but now naturally he didn't have that energy. He also thought in his heart that sooner or later he would completely melt that iceberg. Watching junior sister leave with some disappointment, Lin Yun thought again. He seemed to have forgotten that there was also an Empress Ancestral Master in the secret room. Chapter 8. Untie the knot and try again. For some reason, Lin Yan actually didn't really want to go to that secret room, because he didn't know how he should deal with the Empress Ancestral Master now. How should he get along with her? Old Devil Lin had a bit of a headache, but he was absolutely certain of one thing. That was, once the seal of the God-slaying dagger was removed, she would want to kill him. She might even risk the heavenly Tao sending down a lightning tribulation, causing her soul flying away and spirit scattering. She would also unseal her cultivation, and then thoroughly kill him. Women sometimes can easily lose their minds. Lin Yan had a lot of experience and understanding regarding this point, but he wasn't someone to be trifled with either. If it really came down to it, he could only resort to some tricks. What about love grows over time? Lin Yan suddenly remembered this idiom, but it had already happened so many times before, and if he were to force her again now, it seemed a bit like a beastly act. That was the Empress Ancestral Master. If he didn't make the most of his chances now, there wouldn't be any more opportunities. Lin Yan was still very confident in the power of the God-slaying dagger. This was an opportunity he had obtained in an ancient immortal cave back in the day. According to the Jade Slip, this thing could seal an Ascension Realm cultivator for a month, and the Empress Ancestral Master, having self-sealed her cultivation, only had the void-shattering realm left. So a full month's time was very safe. With such a long time, he could completely resolve the hidden danger of the immortal sex encirclement, right? By then, he could even take her on a journey to various places, and continue to be shameless along the way. Perhaps love would truly grow over time. No matter what, he originally had no other choice. He hoped she could understand him. Lin Yan walked towards a secret room. On the other side, Yun Xueji stopped Ling Xuanxue, who looked a bit pale. What's wrong? Have you encountered something difficult? Yun Xueji asked curiously. Ling Xuanxue was her senior disciple. She was a genius girl she had chosen from the mortal world back then. Over so many years, the relationship between the two had long surpassed a certain boundary. It could even be said they were like mother and daughter. This was also one of the reasons why Ling Xuanxue and Lin Yan's relationship had never progressed. Her master had become a knot in her heart. It wasn't until now, facing a desperate situation, that she began to confront her inner feelings. But she hadn't expected her junior sister to be even bolder than her. This left her with mixed feelings. She couldn't tell if it was jealousy or regret, or both. She even harbored some resentment towards her sect master junior brother. Looking at Yun Xueji, Ling Xuanxue's mood became even more complicated. How could she not understand the other party's intentions? It was just that she found it hard to accept. I'm fine. I just want to see the sect master junior brother. Yun Xueji was extremely skilled at reading people's expressions. She could tell at a glance that her disciple had something on her mind. Did he bully you? Yun Xueji frowned her beautiful eyebrows. No, he's with junior sister. Ling Xuanxue said directly. She didn't know why. Yun Xueji's expression was a bit strange. She seemed to have guessed something. Her face flushed slightly. Oh, look at you. You're not as good as junior sister. It's not that master is scolding you, but what time is it now? And you're still hiding things. In this life, doesn't everything ultimately return to dust? Moreover, your sect master junior brother. Even if he successfully overcomes this tribulation, he's probably not far from ascension. Yun Xueji naturally knew some of Ling Xuanxue's thoughts and concerns, but she also had no choice. Some things cannot be controlled by reason. Ling Xuanxue lowered her head slightly, her ears so red they looked like they were bleeding. Master, stop talking. She stomped her foot, a little shyly. Her hand, gripping the sword hilt, was white at the knuckles. Let's talk about our own matters. From today onwards, you are no longer my disciple. You have been expelled from the sect, Yun Xueji said with determination. She knew that if she didn't push her like this silly girl would probably never resolve this knot in her heart in her entire life. Ling Xuanxue was stunned. She seemed not to have expected her master to make such a choice. I don't want to. A mist appeared in her eyes. She stubbornly bit her lip, and a trace of blood seeped out. Then what do you say we do? Yun Xueji also had no way to deal with her. Just like this. From now on, I won't think about those things. Ling Xuanxue seemed to have finally understood something. Oh, you don't care about those empty titles anymore. Yun Xueji was a little surprised. She didn't care about any sect calamity. She believed in Lin Yan. Even if they really couldn't get through this hurdle, then dying was just dying. It was just a little regrettable that her wish hadn't been fulfilled. Ling Xuanxue nodded heavily, making a decision at this moment. Good. I hope we can get through this difficulty. When the time comes, I'll talk to your junior brother. He will definitely want you. Yun Xueji was extremely confident about this. She knew very well what kind of person she had brought back. He used to peek at her bathing when he was a child. More than once. Ling Xuanxue's face was flushed, and she just nodded slightly. Then I'll go get busy first. Go ahead, I also have a lot of things to do. Yun Xueji looked like she was only in her early 20s. She had a beautiful, youthful face like a flower in full bloom, and she had an added mature temperament. Her figure was even more voluptuous. She swayed her waist, her steps light. Clearly, she was in a very good mood. As long as her disciples were happy, that was enough. As for herself, she could take her time. In this life, the most meaningful thing she had done was to have such a demon-venerable disciple. On the other side, Lin Yun stood in front of the secret room door. He raised his hand several times, then silently put it down. He still didn't know at this moment that his senior sister had already resolved her inner knot, which was equivalent to being washed clean. She was just waiting for him to dote on her. It was just that all of this depended on whether he could live until then. The day the god-slaying dagger failed. Perhaps that would be the day of his death. But now there was only one way that might make the Empress Ancestral Master show leniency. As long as she developed even a tiny bit of feeling for him, Lin Yun would have a chance. As long as there was that little bit of trust, Lin Yun could make her temporarily spare his life. At least he could wait until after his ascension and then go to the immortal realm to proactively offer his head. Of course, that was impossible, but he could try every possible way to trick her into believing it. This way, she wouldn't have to perish with him, and before that, he could still use her to do many things. First, stabilize her emotions. After figuring this out, Lin Yun took a deep breath, a wicked smile on his lips. Then he pushed open the heavy stone door of the secret room. This was his forbidden land for secluded cultivation. No outsiders could be here. Ji Xiao heard the sound from outside. Her face instantly turned pale. That beast was back. An uncontrollable surge of anger welled up in her heart, making her already pale face flush crimson again. Lin Yun looked at Ji Xiao, who was sitting upright on the jade bed. Her posture was still so alluring and beautiful. Her angry expression was even more pitiable. Ji Xiao, old devil Lin, called out softly. That should be her name, right? He seemed to recall her saying something like, I, Ji Xiao, will not let you off before. The name was quite pleasant to hear. You beast, what exactly do you want to do? Is my venerable name something you can call? I will definitely kill you. Do you understand? No. I will tear you to pieces, extract your soul, and make you wish for life but be unable to live, and wish for death but be unable to die. Even if you kill me, it's useless. No, you lowly mortal ant. You can't kill me at all. Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun with a hint of sarcasm, her beautiful eyes filled with deep-seated hatred. If the other party truly made a move against her, that would be a good thing. That way, she could make up her mind to self-destruct directly. Unless it was absolutely necessary, her survival instinct wouldn't allow her to do such a thing. Moreover, there were restrictions limiting her. Looking into her eyes, Lin Yun knew that his guess was correct. The Empress Ancestral Master hated him to the bone. She probably wished she could drink his blood and eat his flesh. Believe it or not, I was forced into this. If that day truly comes, I hope you can think more for yourself. To sacrifice a noble immortal like you for my worthless life is not a profitable transaction. Lin Yun seemed to have changed his personality at this moment. This made Ji Xiao pause. Then she sneered, Do you think your apology will be useful? Lin Yun smiled. He walked directly to Ji Xiao, reached out, and pinched her fair chin. Who told you I was apologizing? Anyway, we're both going to die, so why shouldn't I enjoy myself a few more times? Looking at the arrogance on her face, Lin Yun felt a fire rush straight to his lower abdomen. Conquering such a powerful woman was truly interesting. What do you want to do again, you beast? Woo, woo, woo. I won't. Ji Xiao still wanted to say something. But how could she be a match for old devil Lin? In an instant, she was suppressed. The fire that junior sister had just ignited in Lin Yun was now doused with hot oil. It burned with crackling sounds. As the saying goes, gather ye rosebuds while ye may. Chapter 9. I promise not to violate you again. Who knows how much time had passed? Lin Yun slowly put on his clothes. He occasionally glanced at the peerlessly beautiful Empress, who was curled up to the side. She seemed to have accepted her fate, or perhaps she had already given up resisting. At first, there was some resistance, but later she actually became somewhat cooperative. It was as if it confirmed the saying, if you can't resist, then enjoy it. However, perhaps she had discovered that the more she struggled, the more excited this devil became. Lin Yun took out a blanket from his storage ring and waved his hand. The white blanket lightly covered the Empress's peerlessly beautiful and fatally alluring body. Ji Xiao, with her eyes closed, had her long eyelashes tremble slightly. Her heart was already completely cold. Since anger and curses had no effect whatsoever, then why waste energy? She was inherently intelligent, and her will was stronger than ordinary people's. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for her cultivation to reach such a terrifying realm. In fact, Lin Yun had noticed it just now during their intimacy. If the energy sealed within her body were completely released, let alone 100 of him, even 1,000 might not be enough for her to kill. This entire world would face a great catastrophe. Fortunately, she had sealed herself, which led her to fall into a certain paradox now. Without restoring her cultivation, she couldn't unseal herself. But even if she restored her cultivation, it would only be the void-breaking realm from before the god-slaying dagger's seal. As for how she came to the lower realm, and how she would ascend back, that was not a problem Lin Yun needed to consider. Perhaps she had her own method. What he needed to do now was to stabilize her emotions first. As long as she didn't kill him immediately, it was fine. Even if he had to retreat 10,000 steps. To die beneath a peony flower, even as a ghost, is to be romantic. An existence as powerful as the Empress, one he had to look up to, begging him to let her go. Such an experience was priceless. Lin Yun felt that even death would be worth it. Of course, it would be best if he didn't die. It was a pity that the idiotic system didn't know where it had run off to, and he didn't know if it would ever come back. It only gave him 1,000-fold talent, and a divine rank dual cultivation card. He didn't lack talent, and it was only useful if he was alive, and it required a large supply of resources. As for the card, it had already been used up. Lin Yun closed his eyes, tilting his head slightly. He seemed to be savoring something, or perhaps contemplating something. And Ji Xiao remained motionless, as if dead. Perhaps her heart had already died. From a mortal to an immortal, and even a great immortal king, she had guarded her chastity for so many years. Who knows how many immortal realm prodigies and divine science had tried to curry favor with her, even fighting amongst themselves out of jealousy. But she had always disdained them. She never expected to be so humiliated by a mortal, and a junior at that. This was even more unbearable than killing her. Could this be her tribulation? It was said that the tribulations from immortal king to immortal emperor were unimaginably difficult and perilous. They were divided into 3 tribulations: heaven, earth, and human. Was this her human tribulation or inner demon tribulation? However, she still had a long way to go to become an immortal emperor. Why would start now? But this lower realm sect was her hometown, and her father's painstaking effort. It was also the place of her foundation establishment for immortal ascension and the place where she attained the Tao. If she didn't know, then so be it. But the lower realm had reported to heaven, and she already knew. If she ignored it, she would definitely develop a heart demon and karmic obstruction. From then on, her Tao heart would be incomplete. For the ambitious her, this was also an unacceptable matter. So everything was destined. Ji Xiao remained silent, but 2 lines of clear tears unknowingly streamed down her fair and beautiful face. She hated Lin Yun to death, but she was helpless. What terrified her even more was, what if she had his child? But she couldn't possibly ask him to help her clean up. Lin Yun crossed his arms, also pondering what to do next. Xiao, is it alright if I call you that for now? Lin Yun squatted down. He gently picked up a strand of her hair and played with it in his hand. Ji Xiao showed no reaction to this, as if he could do whatever he wanted. To tell you the truth, I can't undo that seal either. Perhaps it will take another 24 days to lift it. Lin Yun held back a piece of information here, or rather, dug a pit. Originally 30 days, but 3 days had already passed. So there were still 27 days left. But he deliberately said there were still 24 days. If, by then, she still hated him and wanted to kill him immediately, when the deadline arrived, she would definitely show a different reaction. Then he could adjust his plan in advance. Even the most despicable methods could be used. For example, through some special means, make her pregnant with his child. That's right, Lin Yun originally had this idea. So naturally, he wouldn't care about safety measures. However, he also knew that the probability was very small. Because the gap in their cultivation realms was too great, their life levels were almost different. Perhaps there was even reproductive isolation. It would be difficult to conceive naturally. Ji Xiao finally reacted. Her body trembled slightly, and she directly turned around. Her gaze was icy cold as she looked at Lin Yun. But the tear stains on her face made her look like a weeping pear blossom, evoking pity, completely devoid of that intimidating aura. Lin Yun even subconsciously reached out to wipe away her tear stains. Ji Xiao didn't even dodge. It had already been like that for 2 or 3 days. She had already been humiliated in every way. What was this level of contact? But her heart was now filled with unwillingness. There were still 24 days. How could this be? What exactly was this thing? To possess such powerful sealing power. So insidious. How was she supposed to get through so many days? Her heart began to feel despair. Her heart was like dead ashes, even wanting to self-destruct immediately. Lin Yun's spiritual sense keenly detected danger to his life. He immediately jumped up. Xiao, what do you want to do? Don't be impulsive. You aren't immortal. How can you be so self-deprecating? I promise you, I won't mess with you again in the future. Lin Yun had just felt a terrifying energy stirring within this woman's body. It scared him to the point of trembling. although she couldn't lift the restriction and seal. But if she were to self-destruct directly, there was still a chance. In that case, the entire world would likely be devastated by the explosion. A mocking smile appeared on Ji Xiao's lips. What? You're also afraid of death? Aren't you just betting that I wouldn't dare? Lin Yun gave an awkward smile. Don't be like this. A mere 20-something days will pass quickly. I promise not to violate you again from now on. How about it? Lin Yun had a good plan in mind. Anyway, agree first, and as for his promise, it was no different for nonsense. Such a beautiful woman with an extremely noble status. How could he restrain himself, especially after having already savored the taste? It was absolutely impossible to let her go. So he could use the method of boiling a frog in warm water. Give her hope. This way, she wouldn't destroy herself out of despair. In fact, what Lin Yun was unwilling to admit was that he seemed to have really fallen for her. Ji Xiao sat up, covering her chest with the blanket. Her pair of majestic and cold phoenix eyes calmly looked at Lin Yun. Can I still believe your words? Of course, I am. After all, the demonic path master. I also have dignity. I can swear to the heavens. Lin Yun declared confidently. If I break my oath, I'll be struck by lightning. The two in the secret room didn't know that outside, for some unknown reason, there was a sudden explosion and thunder struck from a clear sky. Many disciples even thought that the immortal Dao sect had already attacked prematurely. Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun's face. It was this man who had subjected her to endless torment and play. She would absolutely not let him off. But just as he said, there was no need to sacrifice her own life. His life was so humble. How could it be compared to hers? Then I'll believe you for now. If you dare to be disrespectful to this venerable one again, don't blame me for being impolite. Ji Xiao reverted to her lofty demeanor. Lin Yun watched, unable to help but swallow. She was still most alluring like this. Ji Xiao frowned slightly. Your gaze disgusts me. Humble mortal, dare to look at me like that again, and I'll gouge out your eyes. Her beautiful eyes were full of disdain. She seemed to have forgotten that not long ago, she was still submitting to this mortal. Lin Yun shrugged. He didn't want to provoke her anymore. Things were fine as they were now. Anyway, there would be plenty of time to slowly train and get along. Hopefully, she would do it willingly. But Lin Yun also knew that it was impossible. Unless one day, he became stronger than her. But how should he take her out later, and under what identity? His newly captured cauldron? Chapter 10, the Master's Taoist partner, looks a bit like the Empress. Lin Yun looked at Ji Xiao, who was still breathtakingly beautiful. He pondered what identity he should arrange for her next. Care to go for a walk with me? Speaking of which, this could be considered your homecoming. You should still have many memories here. Lin Yun gazed at Ji Xiao with genuine emotion. A complex expression appeared on Ji Xiao's exquisite face. Of course, she was extremely familiar with this place. This was where she had grown up. It was also the place that supported her cultivation and ascension. If not for this karma, how else would she have descended to the lower realm in such a hurry, only to be cruelly ambushed by a villain? She even lost her most precious 10,000-year pure Yin body and endured endless humiliation. Ji Xiao closed her eyes, her long eyelashes trembling slightly. Many vague memories resurfaced in her mind. Then let's go out and see. A look of delight appeared in Lin Yun's eyes. As long as she was willing to go out, as long as she was willing to be with him, then he would have the opportunity to slowly melt her heart. Even if there was no opportunity, he could create one. Let's go, I'll show you around. Actually, if you don't go see it now, you might not see it tomorrow. The 9 great immortal sects are invading, and they are bound to cause devastating damage. Many ancient buildings might not be preserved. Lin Yun said as they walked. The two were very close. The faint fragrance made Lin Yun feel very comfortable. This was the body fragrance of an immortal. Of course, there will definitely be no problems with the ancestral temple. The Yin-Yang Sacred Sect's ancestral master's plaque is still there. Do you want to go see it? The person Lin Yun spoke of was Ji Xiao's father. He had been gone for countless years. But the ancestral master's spirit tablet was made of divine wood, uncorrupted for 10,000 years. The stick of incense Lin Yun burned was found in the ancestral temple. And Ji Xiao's portrait also hung in the ancestral temple. But female ancestral masters who ascended to the upper realm. Naturally, they wouldn't have ominous things like spirit tablets. They were only represented by portraits. Every new disciple who joined had to burn incense and pray in the ancestral temple. Intersect disciples also needed to light soul lamps and life plaques. This way, if they encountered an accident outside, the sect would know immediately and could obtain useful information for revenge. The more core disciple one was, the more miraculous the function of their life plaque. As for personal disciples, they could directly transmit the last moments of their lives back. This was also why few dared to provoke core disciples of noble families and great sects when they were out. that would invite endless retaliation and deadly calamity. Ji Xiao remained silent, appearing very aloof. Lin Yin didn't mind. The more she was like this, the more he liked her. She wouldn't really think it was over just like that, would she? This was a rare opportunity to profane an immortal with a mortal body. He couldn't provoke her too much. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if she really self-destructed. Perhaps the entire world would have to be buried with her. Speaking of which, that god-slaying dagger was also powerful. Unfortunately, there was only one. Of course, the most crucial reason was that Ji Xiao had self-sealed herself. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have worked. Actually, what Lin Yin didn't know was that there was another key reason. He looked relatively clean. Not like those low-level lives like stray dogs outside. Otherwise, Ji Xiao would rather die than allow herself to be defiled. How difficult it was to cultivate to become an immortal king. Billions of lives were nothing but dust in her eyes. How could she easily let herself perish and lose her Tao, unless she was truly pushed to the brink? After leaving the sleeping quarters, Lin Yin wanted to hold her soft, boneless jade hand. Ji Xiao's delicate body trembled, and she immediately paused. She didn't struggle, because she knew it was meaningless. Now she couldn't resist. Looking at her cold eyes, there seemed to be no human emotion within them. Lin Yin couldn't help but feel a tremor in his heart. Perhaps in her eyes, all living beings in the lower realm were mere ants. It was a good thing he was so audacious. As the saying goes, the bold get fat and the timid starve. He had managed to eat swan meat, so to speak. But he was a son of luck, a system host. How could he be a common mortal? One day, he would make her genuinely serve him. Are your words just farts? Seeing Lin Yin shamelessly unmoved, Ji Xiao couldn't help but sneer. Lin Yin squeezed her soft, small hand, which was adorned with a bracelet. Soft, like a white steam bun, but even silkier, and a little cool, which was very pleasant. This way, it will be convenient for you to move around outside later. Otherwise, it's hard to explain why a strange woman suddenly appeared in the sect's core residence. Moreover, your appearance is also prone to suspicion. So, it makes sense for you to appear as my woman. Lin Yin was spouting nonsense, but there was a bit of truth to it. Are you worthy? A cold sneer appeared on Ji Xiao's lips. Lin Yin couldn't help but feel a little angry. Why did she look down on him so much? When you're under me, let's see if you're still so arrogant. This is just a temporary measure. Let's just make a sacrifice for now, Lin Yin said in a pleasant tone. There was a reason for him being so humble. This was his strategy. It was also the famous broken window effect. If they could hold hands today, could they kiss tomorrow? The day after tomorrow, they could sleep together and share intimacy. You have to eat your meal one bite at a time. Slowly break down the Empress Ancestral Master's psychological defenses. Then he could leave his mark in her heart. No matter how powerful her cultivation was, she was still a woman. And a woman who had not experienced intimacy between a man and a woman. Old Devil Lin was very sure of this. I'm begging you, I just don't want your identity to be exposed. Otherwise it will be very troublesome. Lin Yin pleaded with a sincere expression. However humble he was now, he would take his revenge on her later. Even if he ascended to the immortal realm, he would find a way to continue their relationship. As for whether he would be hunted to death, Lin Yin hadn't considered that problem. He was a transmigrator, a chosen one. How could he die so easily? Didn't he rebirth after dying last time? Moreover, to die under the Empress's skirt, even as a ghost, is to be romantic. Ji Xiao's clear, cold eyes rippled slightly. Don't move around anymore, or I'll chop off your claws and feed them to the dogs. Lin Yin was overjoyed. He quickly promised, I'll just hold it, I absolutely won't move. The two walked slowly along the path. Ji Xiao occasionally stopped. She gazed at the distant halls and pavilions, lost in thought. The scale of the Yin-Yang sacred sect was truly vast. The utility disciples, outer sect, and inner sect disciples combined totaled several million disciples. This was also why it could dominate the world. However, although they bore the name of sacred sect, they followed the path of a demonic sect. Over the years, they had become accustomed to this approach of sacred within, demonic without. This also aligned with the Tao of heaven. As the saying goes, if a man is not for himself, heaven and earth will destroy him. Those who cultivate the Tao naturally stop at nothing for opportunity. Only then can one be worthy of defying heaven and changing one's destiny. News that the sect master supreme was strolling with a woman as beautiful as a heavenly immortal began to spread within the sect. Many people had witnessed it firsthand, and they all felt that the woman looked somewhat familiar. The portrait of the Empress Ancestral Master had blurred over 10,000 years, but it still held a certain charm. What did you say? Junior brother is with a woman. Ling Shuangshue's delicate brows furrowed. A chilling cold qi emanated, turning into a misty white fog. At a time like this, he still has the mood for romance. Junior sister Lu Sweki stuck out her tongue. She feared Senior Sister the most. Otherwise, she wouldn't have looked so panicked after Senior Sister caught her in the act earlier. While Ling Xuanxue was furious, she also felt a hint of resentment. Tomorrow they would face a life-and-death ordeal. Instead of spending this last time with him, he was out seeking other women, and had found some woman from who knows where. Senior Sister, perhaps it's because that woman looks a bit like the portrait. Lu Sueki couldn't help but say. The senior and junior brothers outside, they all say so privately. What portrait? Ling Xuanxue looked up at her charming junior sister, a little confused. Although just now she was still seducing the sect master junior brother. But at least that was their own internal matter. Lu Sueki seemed a bit embarrassed, a blush appearing on her fair face. This said what? Seeing her junior sister stutter, Ling Xuanxue became even more curious. They said, she looks a bit like the Empress ancestral master who ascended long ago. Lu Sueki said weakly. After speaking, she glanced at senior sister Ling Xuanxue. Sure enough, senior sister also looked incredulous, although they knew that the sect master junior brother had always been deeply demonic. But this was too heaven-defying. What they didn't know was, old Devil Lin's demonic heart had already exceeded their imagination. If he didn't even dare to approach the Empress, what was the point of seeking immortality in the Tao? Might as well go back to the countryside and plant spirit rice. Chapter 11, You Still Have a Mind for Romance. Lin Yun accompanied Empress ancestor Ji Xiao. The two of them traveled as if sightseeing. But how vast was the Yin Yang sacred sect? This area is newly developed, and those dozens of mountain peaks over there are the immortal caves of personal disciples. Lin Yun even acted as a tour guide. Whenever he encountered a complex of palaces that were built during his tenure, he would introduce them. Looking at the immortal mountains in the distance, Ji Xiao pursed her lips, her brows slightly furrowed, seemingly recalling something. If I remember correctly, wasn't that a cultivation family before? It seemed to be surnamed Wang, and the Wang family's old ancestor was even a sect guest elder. Ji Xiao remembered because she had a good relationship with a certain saintess of the Wang family back then. Lin Yun rubbed his nose. Their family? They were relocated, Lin Yun said with an awkward smile. How could there be a neighbor surnamed Wang right at his doorstep? Old Devil Lin was very particular about this. Using the excuse that the sect's territory was insufficient and it was flourishing day by day, with too many people to accommodate, he directly forced the Wang family to move. Overnight, the Wang family's ancestral land was torn down. They had no choice but to move. It was from this time that the outside world realized how overbearing and unreasonable old Devil Lin was. One must know that the Wang family had been settled here for tens of thousands of years. Their old ancestor was even good brothers with the sacred sect's old ancestor. Now, he had directly driven them away. This incident caused quite a stir back then. It could even be said that many people died, but all of it was forcefully suppressed by Lin Yun. Furthermore, that mountain range was originally a blessed land, which was also beneficial to the sect. Therefore, the resistance within the sect was actually not great. Relocation. Ji Xiao didn't understand what that meant. It means the sacred sect gave them enough compensation and then had them move, Lin Yun patiently explained. They must be properly settled. The Wang clan's ancestors were old acquaintances with my father. I was also good friends with their family's saintess back then, Ji Xiao said indifferently. Although her voice was still as cold, it finally had a bit more human warmth. Lin Yun secretly rejoiced in his heart. This was a very good change. As for old acquaintances, go to hell. What does that have to do with me? Yes, they have long since been properly settled and are living a comfortable life now. Lin Yun actually had no idea where the Wang family had moved. Back then, he had merely issued an order. The two of them stopping here also caused quite a stir. One must know that this was a special period. All the personal disciples had returned to the mountain. At this moment, they were all eager to fight. They were preparing to have a big fight with the immortal Tao sects. Now their idol, the legendary demon venerable, the sect master supreme, had arrived. He must be visiting them and cheering them on. But who was that stunning female immortal next to him? Why did she look so familiar? Moreover, her aura was so noble that it made people unable to harbor any disrespectful thoughts. Was this the sect master's wife? Why hadn't they heard any news before? All sorts of questions arose in everyone's minds. However, this did not prevent them from coming to pay their respects to the sect master supreme. Lin Yun's prestige among the younger generation was unmatched. It was said that even within the immortal Tao sects, he had many staunch fans. Watching Lin Yun effortlessly mingle with the younger generation, maintaining his authority while also being approachable, Ji Xiao's eyes were also a little dazed. How many years had it been since she had experienced such a scene? Everyone, don't be afraid. Tomorrow, focus on preserving yourselves. No matter what happens, saving your life is the priority. Of course, you must also demonstrate the prestige and courage of our sacred sect. You cannot lose face. Do you understand? Lin Yun was now somewhat amiable. Unlike the meetings in the sect master's main hall, these younger generations were the hope of the sect. Lin Yun could also see his own reflection in them. Naturally, he didn't want them to die in vain. Although the sacred sect was known as a demonic sect, besides being somewhat unreasonable, favoring relatives over justice, and being protective of its own, it also liked to rob and take advantage of things. It actually hadn't done anything truly heinous. The Yin-Yang sacred sect was a place where everything revolved around spirit stones. Watching Lin Yun return, "They all respect you very much," Ji Xiao couldn't help but say. Back then, she hadn't actually achieved this, but her father had very much hoped she could. "Of course, I've made many reforms, even providing opportunities for many poor but ambitious individuals. It's just that the interest is a bit high." Lin Yun smiled slightly, exuding the demeanor of a master. As long as Ji Xiao was willing to speak, he would tell her everything he knew. Interest? Ji Xiao was a little confused. Yes, the sect has established a dream spirit stone plan. Anyone who meets the requirements can apply for a loan, just like in the mortal world. The interest is only 30 points a year. Lin Yun meticulously introduced some of the plans he had implemented within the sect over the years, including various business operation strategies. He recounted how he had transformed the sacred sect into such a colossus today, which was also why it had become a thorn in the side of the various immortal sects. "You mean the sect now also runs a business association? And it's the #1 business association on the continent?" Ji Xiao actually had a terrifying thought suddenly surface in her mind. This hateful mortal truly seemed to be a talent. If her imperial palace had him, it wouldn't take long for him to manage the territory successfully. Lin Yun nodded somewhat proudly. "Of course, our Yin-Yang Treasure Pavilion is now the best in the world. It is spread throughout the entire world. Even the Demon Realm, Northern Region, and Western Region have our branches. Countless spirit stones flow in every day." Lin Yun was quite pleased with himself. These were all experiences from later generations, which he directly used to conquer the cultivation world with a dimension-reducing attack. To seize the market, old Devil Lin even used tactics like pindados, slash a price. Ji Xiao listened to Lin Yun's various methods, and her eyes also sparkled with brilliance. But in an instant, it was suppressed. This man, after all, was already a dead man. She would absolutely not let him go, no matter how great his value. She wanted him to wish for death, but be unable to die. This point was unchangeable. Lin Yun had originally felt Ji Xiao soften a bit, and was somewhat happy in his heart, but he didn't expect her to turn cold again in an instant. Sure enough, women are just women. They change their minds as fast as flipping a book. Sect Master Junior Brother. "Who is she?" Just then, a cold voice rang out. Ling Shuangxue appeared to one side. She first bowed, then looked directly at Ji Xiao. This woman was so beautiful. She was the most beautiful woman she had seen in so many years. No wonder Junior Brother was tempted. But she didn't seem to have any good feelings for Junior Brother. Was she brought back by force? Ling Shuangxue had some conjectures in her mind. After all, it wasn't the first time Junior Brother had done such a thing. A certain Empress Your Majesty in the past was once captured by him and imprisoned for 3 full months. The other party's Grand Imperial Master, the old Imperial Master, was dispatched, and only by paying a huge price was the hostage exchanged. As for whether any inhumane things happened during that time, no one knew. They only knew that on that day, that Empress seemed to be full of hatred, and the dignified Empress of the Divine Phoenix Imperial Dynasty even cried profusely, as if she had suffered endless grievances. One of the parties attacking this time was the Divine Phoenix Imperial Dynasty. "Who are you?" Seeing that Lin Yun didn't speak, Ling Shuangxue looked directly at Ji Xiao. She strangely found that the aura on this woman was very strange. She seemed to have no cultivation, but it also seemed to be deeply hidden. Ji Xiao glanced at Ling Shuangxue and completely ignored her. Lin Yun gave an awkward smile. "This is my Dao companion. You'll get to know her later." In front of the senior sister, Lin Yun sometimes felt a little guilty. Ling Shuangxue's face was frosty. "You know what time it is, don't you? And you still have these messy thoughts. You might as well go around more and mobilize the sect disciples more." Lin Yun shrugged. "I was just doing that." All right, stop making a fuss." Seeing that Ji Xiao was already walking away, Lin Yun stepped forward and grabbed Ling Shuangxue's jade hand, giving a squeeze. "Don't worry, nothing will happen tomorrow." Seeing that she was about to say something else, Lin Yun sternly said, "What? Are you not listening to my words either?" He leaned down slightly, his breath hitting Ling Shuangxue's delicate, pretty face, causing a blush to appear on her fair skin. Saying that, Lin Yun directly gave her a light kiss on the forehead. Ling Shuangxue's aura was somewhat cold, but it was very refreshing. Her fragrance was as clear and elegant as jasmine. Ling Shuangxue had originally come aggressively to demand an explanation, but now her own heart was fluttering. Will nothing really happen tomorrow? Ling Shuangshue's voice involuntarily became softer. I'll tell you secretly. I had a breakthrough, Lin Yun whispered into her delicate ear, his left hand wrapped around her soft waist. This move was always effective for him. The hot breath on her ear made Ling Shuangshue's delicate body tremble, and she instantly went limp. But after hearing Lin Yun's words, she suddenly looked up at her sect master junior brother, her beautiful face filled with shock and disbelief. Chapter 12. I promise, this is really the last time. Are you telling the truth? Ling Shuangshue couldn't care less about her shyness. She suddenly looked up at her junior brother, the sect master. If he had a breakthrough and reached the Ascension realm, that would make him virtually invincible in the lower realm, especially since senior brother was currently at his peak. His physical body, chi, and divine soul were all in their prime. Even if those legendary old monsters who didn't dare to ascend were still alive, they would definitely not be his opponents. In other words, junior brother, the sect master, was now invincible across the vast world, even the 3,000 lower realms. He could traverse them all, invincible. How could Ling Shuangshue not be surprised, not be shocked? Tomorrow, the 9 great immortal sects would arrive to attack. That was an army of 1,000,000 elites. The lowest cultivation level among them were core disciples in the pill condensation realm. Personal disciples in the divine ability realm were countless. Saints, divine maidens, and elders in the heavenly manifestation and undergoing tribulation realms also came out in full force. The void-breaking realm, which was the peak existence in this world. The ultimate combat power below Ascension realm. It was rumored that several such old ancestors had also arrived. At that time, even with senior brother's strength alone, he would not be able to resist such a flood of an army. Countless flying swords could drown everything. If ordinary disciples might still have a glimmer of hope for survival, then their sect's high-ranking members would definitely not be spared. If they were captured, it might even be more painful than death. Ling Shuangshue had originally despaired. She had even prepared to die before junior brother, the sect master. Her master had made the same decision. Given their status, they absolutely could not live ignobly. Otherwise, they would be tortured horribly. Even junior sister had the same thought. That's why they had been so unusual these past few days, no longer suppressing their emotions. But now, the situation seemed to have taken a turn for the better. At their wits' end, when there was no way out, junior brother, the sect master, had actually broken through his cultivation realm again. The sect was saved. They wouldn't have to die either. Lin Yun smiled profoundly. He increased the pressure on his hand. Senior sister's waist was very soft and elastic. For so many years, senior sister had been alone, assisting him wholeheartedly. How could he not know her intentions? That's right. So, you could put your mind at ease. How could I let anything happen to you all? As Lin Yun said this, he felt a little emotional. In his previous life, he hadn't been able to do that. The sect was destroyed, and all his loved ones perished in an instant. Even he himself was forced to self-destruct on the spot. Ling Shuangshue quickly came back to her senses. Feeling the warm, large hand, her face flushed. But she couldn't help but say with a hint of blame, "You shouldn't have told me. This should have been kept as the ultimate trump card, to catch those 9 great immortal sects off guard. At that time, as long as we kill 1 or 2 of those void-breaking realm powerhouses in one fell swoop, the crisis can be resolved." Ling Shuangshue was afraid she couldn't keep the secret. Moreover, for such a big matter, she was afraid she would reveal a flaw. This wasn't her overthinking. Many times, things went wrong in such unexpected ways. The closer it was to the critical moment, the more careful one had to be. Lin Yun saw that the Empress Ancestral Master was already walking far away. He didn't want to drag it out any longer. "Don't worry, if I can't even trust you, who else can I trust? However, don't tell anyone else yet. Don't tell Master or Junior Sister. The sect arrangements will remain as usual. I naturally have a way to resolve the crisis. Trust me." Saying that, Lin Yun released Senior Sister. "You go get busy first. As for her, she's actually part of the plan. You'll understand later. Do you trust me?" Lin Yun asked again. Ling Shuangshue's face flushed. "I naturally trust you." "Good, that's good." Lin Yun gently patted Ling Shuangshue's shoulder. Then he turned and left, intending to catch up with Ji Xiao. She couldn't leave his sight. If she lost control, then he would lose everything. Ling Shuangshue watched junior brother, the sect master, walk away. Her eyes were full of complexity. Junior brother, the sect master, was good in every way, and his talent was even that of a prodigy. His temperament was decisive and strategic, but he seemed to have no self-control when it came to women. From time to time, there would be some romantic scandals. One of the reasons for this encirclement and attack was related to this. The Divine Phoenix Dynasty's arrival was led by the Imperial Princess, Huang Shi'er. She came to seek justice for her mother, Huang Lianyu. In fact, no one knew what happened at the time. But it was true that the other party was captured and brought back to the sacred sect. This lone man and woman, and the rumored empress of the Divine Phoenix dynasty, was a peerless beauty. And old Devil Lin was already notorious and audacious. Naturally, people used their imagination. Many rumors naturally became more and more outrageous. Not only did it bring shame to the Divine Phoenix dynasty, Her Majesty the Empress also stopped attending to court affairs ever since. Ling Shuangxiwei actually didn't know what happened, but she didn't want to inquire about this private matter. However, Junior Brother, the sect master, had said that he and that empress actually had old grudges. She shook her head slightly. Since ancient times, heroes have found it hard to resist the charms of beautiful women. Wasn't she the same? Hadn't she also fallen deeply? She then turned and left. The sect's protective formation was now constantly activated. It consumed a massive amount of spirit stones every moment, and she also had to inspect every important node. Master side was even busier. She had to mobilize all the sect's resources to convert them into strength. Even Junior Sister was busy with who knows what. On the other side, after Lin Yun caught up with Ji Xiao, he naturally reached out to hold her jade-like hand again. This time, Ji Xiao's body only trembled slightly, and she didn't resist anymore. Lin Yun was overjoyed. This was a good sign. He needed her to slowly get used to and accept his intimate actions, to leave a deep imprint in her heart. Otherwise, he really might be utterly annihilated by her in an instant later on. Even if she continued to hate him, it would be better if she tortured him first. As long as he wasn't directly killed, he would have a chance to escape. Lin Yun had never thought that he could avoid being discovered in the immortal realm later. Could he hide for a while? Could he hide for a lifetime? After all, the Empress Ancestral Master was a prodigy by nature. Presumably, even in the immortal realm, she was a major figure. Being held by him again, Ji Xiao's heart was very complicated. But in an instant, she was again overwhelmed by anger. She's hostile towards me? How ridiculous. Are you even worthy? She must be blind. Would I ever take a liking to a lowly ant like you? In fact, Lin Yun had seen Ji Xiao's personality recorded in the Ancestral Hall. When she was in the lower realm, she was known for her coldness and sharp tongue, yet also for her unparalleled grace and beauty. Looking at her now, the records seemed accurate. Lin Yun acted as if he hadn't heard, completely unconcerned. No matter how you curse now, it doesn't change the fact that I've taken liberties with you, does it? MHM, you're right, I just educated her, Lin Yun said with a smile. Ji Xiao glanced at Lin Yun with some disdain. Is she your woman? You actually don't protect her, truly a useless mortal. Lin Yun also felt a little helpless in his heart. How could this woman be so unpredictable? Didn't you just want to curse her? Not yet. She's my senior sister, Lin Yun said truthfully. This made Ji Xiao look down on Lin Yun even more. Indeed, a lowly ant, not even sparing his senior sister. No wonder he deceives his master and betrays his ancestors. Lin Yun took a deep breath. He now just wanted to continue pressing her down and teaching her a good lesson. Let's go back. Lin Yun pulled Ji Xiao, intending to return. Where to? Ji Xiao looked at Lin Yun with some vigilance. Back to the bedchamber. Where else? In your current state. What if you encounter bad people? Of course, I have to protect you. You are my woman, Lin Yun said with a serious face. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiao, the damned scoundrel, actually called her his woman. Her delicate brows immediately furrowed, and her face was icy cold. Shut up. If you dare to say such words again, I will pull out your tongue. Lin Yun gave an awkward laugh. If you don't want me to say it, then I won't. Let's go back first. Old Devil Lin also had a fire suppressed in his heart. She kept scolding him with every other word. Later, he would make it so she couldn't even beg for mercy. With a great battle imminent, it was still necessary to relax properly. Immediately, Ji Xiao was once again led into the secret chamber within the bedchamber. Lin Yun directly closed the heavy stone door. Only then did Ji Xiao realize something was wrong. What do you want to do? She frowned, retreating a few steps. But then she felt it would damage her dignity. Wouldn't this prove that she was afraid of this damned mortal? Looking at her sacred appearance, that exquisitely beautiful face, Lin Yun's eyes were burning. Nothing, I promise, this is the last time. Didn't you enjoy cursing me just now? Stop. Don't come any closer. Ji Xiao's expression changed, and her ears inexplicably felt hot. You promised me. Aren't you afraid I'll drag you down with me? Lin Yun approached step by step. He couldn't hear anything now. Moreover, he was confident. Immediately, Ji Xiao closed her eyes in some pain. 2 streams of clear tears flowed down her delicate, flawless face, but she stubbornly refused to make a sound. Chapter 13 Xiao. You need to take a shower and change clothes. Who knows how much time had passed? Perhaps it was a few hours later. In a quiet room, the air still carried the lingering warmth of intimacy. The spiritual candle, produced in Medicine King Valley, flickered, making the walls alternately bright and dim. Lin Yun leaned against the messy, soft couch, breathing heavily. His gaze fell on the Empress' ancestral master, Ji Xiao, beside him. She was half leaning against the headboard, her gauze skirt haphazardly covering her lower abdomen, and fragrant sweat clung to her fair skin. Long strands of hair stuck to her forehead, and her chest rose and fell slightly. Clearly, she had just experienced something that was akin to a nightmare for her. Again and again, could she still trust him? Ji Xiao looked as if she had been crushed, her beauty captivating to the point of being unable to look away. Lin Yun stared at her, a hint of guilt flashing in his eyes. After all, tormenting her like this was somewhat dishonorable. Moreover, trust was not something easily cultivated. But sometimes he couldn't be blamed. Old Devil Lin admitted that he was a beast. So, as soon as this thought emerged, it was suppressed by the burning heat in his heart. He licked his lips, seemingly having new ideas. But now was clearly not the right time. Ji Xiao's breathing gradually stabilized. She seemed to sense Lin Yun's unruly gaze. She suddenly turned her head and glared at him, her eyes as cold as if poisoned, the raw killing intent so thick it could drip. Ji Xiao gritted her teeth, her voice low as if squeezed from her throat. "You damned ant. You broke your word. Are you even a man? How can my sacred sect produce such a shameless scoundrel like you?" She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms, wishing she could pounce on him and tear him apart. "Lin Yun, I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. I will make your soul flying away and spirit scattering, not even giving you a chance at reincarnation." Her voice trembled, filled with endless malice. A tear flashed in her phoenix eyes, but she forcefully held it back, refusing to let this beast see any weakness from her. Lin Yun, however, acted as if he hadn't heard, shamelessly leaning closer. Let her vent and curse. He wouldn't lose a piece of his flesh. Old Devil Lin smiled provocatively. "Xiao, don't be angry. Who told you you're too beautiful? I can't be blamed. Sigh. Actually, I'm also very tired. Look, my chi is unstable." As he spoke, he reached out to touch her face. His tone carried a hint of coaxing. "With your appearance, even the heavenly immortals in the heavens can't compare. How could a mortal like me resist?" He spoke in a greasy and rogue manner, yet he feigned a deeply affectionate look. He was taking advantage of the fact that she was truly a peerless empress among fairies, unfamiliar with these common road tactics. Ji Xiao snorted coldly, fiercely swatting his hand away, and angrily said, "Stop with these sickening sweet words. You shameless scoundrel. I will make you regret being born sooner or later. You'd best stay in a lower realm for this lifetime. I will definitely find you. No, even if you never ascend in this lifetime, I will come down again to find you. When that time comes, I will definitely flay you and pull out your tendons." Although her voice was fierce, her body was soft, and her expression was even more alluring. Her cheeks were flushed. Ji Xiao's cultivation had been sealed by the god-slaying dagger earlier. Her physical body was already fragile. After being tormented by Lin Yun for several days, she had long since lost her strength. So how could she resist the wolf-like Lin Yun? Yet this guy was impervious to all attacks and curses, looking as if nothing could affect him. Ji Xiao felt utterly helpless, even a little wronged. What kind of sin had she committed? Even if it was a great calamity, it was too cruel to her. If pushed too far, she would truly rather give up all her cultivation. She even wanted to abandon this physical body that had been defiled. But this decision was truly too difficult to make. Looking at the profusely sweating Ji Xiao, she was somewhat disheveled at this moment. How could she make her calm down again? Tomorrow, the immortal Tao would invade, and she couldn't be allowed to ruin his important plans. Lin Yun's eyes darted around, and he came up with an idea. He suddenly stood up and, with a swift motion, scooped up Ji Xiao, his movements so decisive that she had no time to react. Ji Xiao was startled, struggling and slapping his shoulder. "Where are you taking me? Put me down." Her voice held a hint of panic, but her limbs were as soft as noodles, unable to exert any strength. "Beast, I'll fight you to the death." As she spoke, a terrifying chi seemed to be reviving within Ji Xiao's body. Lin Yun's mind trembled, and he quickly carried her out. And he leaned down and whispered in her ear, "You haven't bathed in so many days. Don't you want to wash up? A fairy like you should be pure and spotless. Moreover, don't you want to wash away some of those marks?" As he spoke, he deliberately took a deep sniff. He mumbled with a look of intoxication, "Tisk, truly fragrant." Although the Empress was drenched in sweat. In fact, there was no peculiar smell at all. Ji Xiao's faint, subtle fragrance was even more alluring. Upon hearing his words, Ji Xiao's heart truly wavered a little. Being with this ant, she had long felt incredibly dirty. Her delicate skin felt somewhat sticky, and her heart was in a mess. Even if she were to die, she wanted to leave cleanly and purely. She bit her lip, not saying a word, but the violent chi quietly receded. Seeing the struggle, she couldn't hide in her eyes. Lin Yun's lips curled slightly. As this venerable one, a master of romance, could he not handle you? With just a little manipulation, wouldn't she be like a plain steamed bun, obediently letting him mold her as he pleased? Feeling a little smug, Lin Yun temporarily cast his worries aside. He carried Ji Xiao through the long corridor, through a secret passage, into the sleeping quarters, and arrived at the sect master's private bathroom. This place was very spacious, large enough to accommodate dozens of dancing girls. In the center was a white jade bathtub, with steam rising, and several pots of colorful spiritual plants placed along the edge. Red gauze curtains hung on the walls, exuding a serene elegance. A few crimson petals floated on the milky white water surface, and the warm air, carrying a faint fragrance, was so soothing that it melted one's bones. Sect Master, seeing Lin Yun appear, holding a scantily clad woman. Several young girls in light gauze appeared barefoot. They bowed slightly. Normally, they were the maids who served Lin Yun in his bath and changed his clothes. All of them were beauties of the human world, selected through layers of trials and sent to Lin Yun's sleeping quarters. They were Lin Yun's most favored mates. But at this moment, he had no such thoughts. You may withdraw. Do not let anyone in, not even that girl. The girl, Lin Yun referred to as naturally junior sister Lu Sueki. As you command, Sect Master. The maids retreated silently, as if they had never appeared. Ji Xiao closed her eyes slightly, indifferent to everything. All she wanted now was to wash away the stains. Entering the bath, Lin Yun stepped into the warm pool, one step at a time, until the water reached his waist. Only then did he carefully lower Ji Xiao. Ji Xiao was too weak to stand steadily, and she held onto the edge of the pool to avoid falling. Lin Yun watched this scene, feeling a sense of pride. He was still invincible, both in and out of bed. How is it? Is the water temperature all right? Isn't it very comfortable? Would you like me to help you change and scrub your back? Lin Yun's lips curved with a teasing smile. Ji Xiao glared at him, having long experienced his shamelessness. So she knew that ignoring him was the best option at this moment. Otherwise, she would surely suffer again. After a long hesitation, Ji Xiao finally snorted coldly and turned her back to him. Then she slowly untied her gauze skirt. The skirt slid down, revealing her fair back and slender waist, the water reflecting on her skin with a faint glow. Like a piece of fine mutton fat jade, spotless. She bit her lip and walked a few more steps forward until the water covered her shoulders, leaving only her cold and beautiful face exposed. Ji Xiao crossed her arms over her chest, tilting her head slightly, her dark hair floating like an unfolding lotus flower. Soaking in this warm water, rich with gentle spiritual energy. It was indeed somewhat comfortable, and her furrowed brow relaxed slightly. But as soon as she remembered Lin Yun was still beside her, the fire in Ji Xiao's heart flared up again. What are you still doing here? Get out of my sight. She sternly reprimanded Lin Yun with a cold face. Lin Yun leaned against the edge of the pool, resting his chin on his hand, his eyes fixed on her, a smile playing on his lips. Xiao, your figure is truly... But before he could finish his sentence, Ji Xiao suddenly flicked her hand. Water splashed whoosh across his face. She said coldly, if you've seen enough, get out. I'll leave when I'm done washing. Lin Yun wiped his face, not getting angry, but instead smiling even more mischievously. All right, I won't look. How about I help you scrub your back? He made a move to walk over, and Ji Xiao, furious, grabbed the petal from the edge of the pool and threw them at him. Get out now. I don't want to see you. The petals scattered, covering the water surface. Lin Yun laughed heartily. He also knew he couldn't push her too hard. He then retreated to the bathroom doorway, merely leaning against the doorframe without leaving. A hint of worry, however, flashed in his eyes. His current pressure was also immense, facing both internal and external troubles. Ji Xiao soaked in the water, closing her eyes, her long hair floating on the surface like a mass of ink. She secretly vowed that once her cultivation recovered, the first thing she would do was kill this scoundrel. But for now, she could only grit her teeth and endure as the hot water washed over her body. It was comfortable indeed, but that humiliation, no matter what, could not be washed away. Chapter 14, The Crisis Arises Again. The Immortals Sect Attacks. Lin Yun remained silent. He simply admired the Empress ancestor at that moment, and before he knew it, he was captivated. She was indeed the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life. Moreover, the vast difference in their status and position made him almost obsessed with her. So much so that the rift between them was like an unbridgeable chasm, almost impossible to heal. Even if he survived the sex bloodbath tomorrow, his future path would still be shrouded in darkness, to the point of despair. However, if he didn't use the divine rank dual cultivation card given by the dam system, he definitely wouldn't live past tomorrow. Therefore, no matter what, he could only choose to overcome the immediate crisis to have a future. He now had another hope in his heart. That was for the dam system to return once more and give him a way out. What good was 1,000-fold talent alone? Resources, cultivation techniques, treasures, divine weapons. These things were all indispensable. Lin Yun had a hunch that his talent reward was probably just a first step. It might transform into a certain physique, and that would be its ultimate form. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to get by in the immortal realm later. Although the sacred sex cultivation technique was actually very powerful, the yin-yang profound emperor scripture, which dared to be crowned with the words yin and yang in the mere mortal realm, naturally had some background. It could even be cultivated directly to the immortal realm. Moreover, it could lay an incredibly powerful Dao foundation. The great Dao of yin and yang was one of the strongest great Daos. The current realm of Empress ancestor Ji Xiao was enough to get a glimpse of this. If he wasn't killed by her in the immortal realm later, his future path would also be bright. With the great tribulation approaching, various thoughts inevitably surfaced in Lin Yun's mind. However, he firmly believed in one saying: when the cart reaches the mountain, there will always be a path. Even if there was no path, he would forge one. If it really didn't work, he could only resort to some underhanded methods. Lin Yun once again focused his gaze on Ji Xiao, his fated benefactor. At this moment, the steam in the bathroom had gradually dissipated. The water surface of the white jade pool also gradually calmed down, with only a few fresh red petals floating on top. Ji Xiao, wrapped in a clean gauze dress, sat by the pool. These clothes had been silently prepared by the maids beforehand. Her dark, long hair clung wetly to her back, and water droplets slid down her neck, dripping onto the white jade floor. Ji Xiao lowered her head and dried her hair. Although she felt much more refreshed after bathing, her face was still cold enough to freeze, and the hatred in her eyes had not diminished in the slightest. Lin Yun stood at the door, his mindset now adjusted. He held a clean bath towel in his hand. He casually tossed it over. His tone was a bit lazy. Dry yourself. Your physique isn't what it used to be. Don't catch a cold. Ji Xiao caught the towel, said nothing, and just silently dried her hair. Afterward, seeing that she had put her clothes back on, Lin Yun walked back in. Let's go back to the palace. Don't struggle. Otherwise, I don't know what I might do. Lin Yun's voice was calm, but a little shaky. He tentatively reached out and directly picked Ji Xiao up by the waist. Her body had a faint fragrance after bathing. Ji Xiao's face was cold. Having just finished her bath, she didn't want to experience anything else. So she let him do as he pleased. She only said mockingly, "You're disgusting." Lin Yun's face stiffened. "I wanted to bathe together, but you refused. It's too late to despise me for being dirty now." Ji Xiao immediately fell silent. How could she be a match for the shameless Lin Yun? She could only let him carry her. She had thought Lin Yun would take her back to the secret room, where she had been in seclusion. But Lin Yun carried her towards the sect master's bedchamber. The bedchamber wasn't large, and its furnishings were simple: a wide redwood bed, an antique desk, and 2 chairs. In the corner, a bronze incense burner emitted faint green smoke. Ji Xiao frowned in disdain at the sight of the place. What kind of shithole is this? You're making me live here. Compared to her bedchamber in the immortal realm, this was like a beggar's dog kennel. Lin Yun put her down, somewhat reluctantly, and smiled roguishly. Conditions in the lower realm are like this. Don't be picky. Besides, this place is close to me, which can ensure your safety. Don't worry, I keep my word. I won't force you again. He paused, his tone becoming a bit more serious. Moreover, the 9 great immortal sects will be attacking tomorrow. I don't have a mind to do anything else. You just spend this period of time peacefully. When the time comes, you can ascend to your upper realm, and I'll continue being my mountain king. After speaking, to show his sincerity, he turned and walked to the side hall, sitting on a futon. Ji Xiao could only see a silhouette through the light gauze. Lin Yun closed his eyes, sat cross-legged, and circulated the yin-yang profound emperor art. Black and white chi slowly flowed around him. He hadn't even had time to fully comprehend his new realm. Now, it was like sharpening his spear before battle. Ji Xiao stared at his back, snorted coldly, and said nothing more. The quilt seemed brand new, with a faint scent of sunshine. Ji Xiao sat by the edge of the bed, clutching her gauze dress, her eyes brimming with hatred. She didn't believe that scoundrel Lin Yun would truly let her go. But without her cultivation, she could only endure, secretly plotting how to turn the tables. Night gradually deepened, and the bedchamber was silent. Ji Xiao seemed to have fallen asleep, her breathing steady. Outside, however, Black Demon Peak, where the Yin-Yang sacred sect was located, was brightly lit, with killing intent soaring into the sky. For all the Devil Sect disciples, tonight was a sleepless night. Only the sect master's bedchamber was undisturbed. The outside was actually bustling with activity. Many people treated tonight as their last carnival. Time came to the early morning of the next day. As the sky just began to show the first hint of dawn, a powerful aura suddenly appeared. Like a tribulation cloud pressing down, the atmosphere was so oppressive that it was suffocating. Everyone knew that the immortal Tao allied forces had arrived. The Devil Sect disciples silently clenched their fists, their eyes bloodshot. Some gently wiped their long swords, as if bidding farewell to a beloved woman. Many couples tightly held each other's hands, no longer concealing the love in their hearts. At the end of their vision, the allied forces of the 9 great immortal sects surged forward like a tide. Their respective schools were clearly demarcated, vast and overwhelming, a dense, dark mass. Roughly estimated, there were millions of cultivators. It seemed that at this moment, cultivators from the entire world had arrived before the Yin-Yang sacred sect's mountain gate. War drums thundered, shaking the heavens, and battle cries pierced the clouds. The heavenly profound sect's treasure artifact, the Tianqian seal, hung in mid-air. It emitted an earthy yellow light, pressing down like a giant mountain. The Zixiao sect's disciples formed the 9 heavens purple Xiao divine thunder array, rumbling and crackling with thunderous light, scorching vast stretches of ancient trees outside the mountain gate. The Taiqing sword gate's disciples, with sword chi like a rainbow, rode their flying swords, and countless sword shadows whistled through the air. 10,000 swords returning to the sect, numerous flying swords pointed directly at the Yin-Yang sacred sect's mountain gate. And in the far reaches of the sky, the Yuhua gate's disciples rode on clouds, their sword dances light and ethereal, like exiled immortals descending to the mortal realm. The Lingxiao sect's formation cultivators set up layers of light barriers, protecting the flanks. The Blood Phoenix Iron Cavalry of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty, the ancient imperial dynasty with some karma ties to Lin Yun, had already lined up, ready to charge. The Divine Phoenix battle banner fluttered, soaring high, their long spears seemingly ready to pierce the firmament. The Confucian scholars of Howran Academy held their scrolls, and their vast righteous chi transformed into golden light that shot into the sky. Subduing demons and devils was their specialty, although they only engaged in verbal attacks from the rear. The cultivators of Longevity Taoist Temple and Great Ming Ancient Temple held the rear, their spiritual light flickering, their aura imposing. And the leaders of the 9 great sects all stood at the very front, their eyes like torches, their killing intent boiling. This Yin-Yang sacred devil sect had poisoned all living beings for too long. Today they would eliminate evil and uphold the Tao. Inside the bedchamber, Lin Yin spoke a few heartfelt words to Ji Xiao, but the Empress ancestor only sneered coldly. She told him to get lost immediately, not to be an eyesore, and hoped he would die in the siege. At this moment, he stood on the highest stone platform in front of the mountain gate's main hall. Lin Yin looked down at the mountain, his black robe flapping in the strong wind. Beside him was the light barrier of the sect's mountain-protecting formation, emitting a dark, black light, as thick as a wall. In his previous life, this great formation had withstood the 9 great immortal sects for a day and a night before being broken. But in this life, he had achieved a breakthrough to the Ascension realm. How could he be willing to be passively beaten? Old Devil Lin licked the corner of his mouth, his eyes burning. He planned to create opportunities, break them one by one, and kill 1 or 2 leaders to establish his prestige. The rest would be much simpler. Everyone feared death. 3 bullets could still suppress 100 people. The same principle applied. In the crowd, the saintess of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty, Huang Shir, wore red and gold armor. She held a phoenix feather spear, her pretty face as cold as unshakable ice. Their Divine Phoenix Dynasty had dispatched all its elites this time. Naturally, there was a deep reason. She stared at Lin Yun and shouted, "Old Devil Lin, you devil head, you abducted my imperial mother back then. Today, I will avenge her and take your dog's life." Huang Shir's voice was clear but filled with towering rage. Her spear tip trembled, and a burst of fire shot into the sky. Hearing this, Lin Yun burst into laughter, his laughter echoing through the mountains, carrying an arrogant, provocative air. This Divine Phoenix Dynasty was indeed an old acquaintance of his. "My dear niece, you probably don't know, but back then, your imperial mother and I were deeply in love and perfectly matched. You should call me father." As soon as he said this, Huang Shir's face turned pale with anger, and she fiercely swung her phoenix feather spear. A fiery phoenix illusion lunged straight at Lin Yun, scorching the air with sizzling sounds. That incident from back then had already become a taboo. The Empress of the Divine Phoenix dynasty was known as the most beautiful woman in the world. When she was still a princess, she had even been deceived by Lin Yun when he was still a saint. But in the end, Lin Yun's identity was exposed, and their relationship ended unhappily. However, a few decades ago, she was somehow tricked out again by old Devil Lin, and she was abducted for a period of time. Eventually, the old imperial master emerged from seclusion, forcing Lin Yun to release her, but also sowed the seeds of trouble. This incident had caused a huge uproar throughout the entire cultivation world. Now old wounds were reopened. The leaders of the major immortal sects present were all filled with rage. That was their former white moonlight. Her purity was slandered just like that, and it was an accusation that could not be washed away no matter what. Chapter 15. Challenge the heroes alone, come together. Lin Yun's words were like stirring up a hornet's nest. That empress was the white moonlight in many people's hearts, although her child was already so grown now. However, the Divine Phoenix dynasty's cultivation system was quite special. As a Phoenix maiden, she was actually destined to never marry. As for how the current Phoenix maiden princess was conceived, that involved the hidden secrets of the Divine Phoenix dynasty's foundation, which outsiders naturally had no way of knowing. It was only rumored to be related to the Phoenix. Lin Yun looked at Huang Shir, his eyes also flickering. This woman indeed had a beautiful appearance. It would be a pity not to make her his cauldron. Moreover, he could use her and then directly threaten the Empress. Lin Yun truly missed the taste of Huang Lianyu. Furthermore, he had truly liked her back then. He even considered joining the Divine Phoenix dynasty and changing his identity. But he never expected that she would have such deep prejudices against the demonic path sect. Besides, our Yin-Yang sacred sect was also an immortal Tao sect in the distant past. When Lin Yun's identity was exposed, Huang Lianyu actually directly betrayed his information. This led to him being ambushed and killed by a group of immortal Tao prodigies. And then he became famous in that battle. Of course, the story between Lin Yun and her also ended there. An enmity was born, until he became the sect master supreme, a demonic path giant. The two also never interacted again, until Lin Yun, one day, had a sudden idea and coaxed the other party, who was already the Empress, out. He said something about seeing each other one last time, that the past was like smoke and everything would be over. Then he directly drugged her and tied her back to the sect. Such a big event naturally couldn't be kept secret, and the Divine Phoenix dynasty still discovered the Empress's whereabouts through some secret technique. This hidden secret was the most explosive rumor of that year. It directly pushed the conflict between immortals and demons to a climax. Therefore, the immortal Tao side considered it a great shame. The Divine Phoenix dynasty, as the only cultivation imperial dynasty, actually held a very special status. Its relationships with the various sects were intricate and intertwined with shared interests. After all, their immortal sects also had to descend the mountains to recruit disciples. And the Divine Phoenix dynasty was the largest source of students, with hundreds of billions of people. Moreover, due to the imperial dynasty's luck, their aptitude was always of the highest quality, and prodigies frequently appeared. Xian Tiangang of the Heavenly Profound sect was the first to lose his temper. Back then, he was a sycophant of the Phoenix Maiden. It's just that his appearance was a bit rough. Xian Tiangang roared, "Shameless devil head, your mouth is so vile, come and die." He couldn't be bothered to waste more words, as it was well known that old Devil Lin was eloquent. If they started arguing, he definitely wouldn't gain any advantage. Xian Tiangang slapped his Tianxian seal, and the giant seal crashed down with a rumble. Lei Zhenxiao of the Zixiao sect's stubbled face twitched. He was already hot-tempered, and at this moment he sneered, "I'll strike down this shameless evil cultivator." The disciples of the Zixiao sect unleashed their power together, and the thunder array they formed roared, its lightning like dragons. It directly transformed into several giant thunder dragons that charged down. Jian Wuji, the sect master of the Taiching Sword Gate, remained silent and directly attacked. His sword chi was like a silver river hanging upside down. When he thrust his sword, it was as if a crescent moon appeared in the sky. The countless sword cultivators behind him were also poised for attack, as they were the main force in this demon-slaying campaign. The other leaders also attacked one after another, and the torrent of spiritual power converged into one mass. The earth shook and the mountains swayed, as if the sky was falling at the end of the world, and their aura was terrifying. Lin Yun, however, stood still. This was just the beginning. He curled his lips into a smile and waved his right hand. Countless spirit stones burned up as if they were worthless. The mountain protection formation shone brightly, and black light shot into the sky, blocking all attacks from outside. The huge chi wave shook the surrounding 100 miles, causing rocks to roll down and dust to fly. Lin Yun naturally knew this wasn't a solution. The best defense was offense. He coldly scanned these leaders, calculating who to eliminate first. That girl Huang Shi'er was a good target, but he could only capture her alive, which would also disgust the Divine Phoenix dynasty. Then there was this guy, Xian Tiangang. He had disliked him for a long time, but his strength was a bit too great, making him difficult to deal with. Pondering in his heart, Lin Yun chuckled softly and transmitted a message to the 12 protector elders in the hall, who were standing by with solemn expressions. Get ready, wait for my signal, and charge out. Then he transmitted another message to his senior sister. Senior sister, help me capture the Phoenix Maiden alive later. Ling Shuangxua paused for a moment, then nodded almost imperceptibly. Since her sect master junior brother wanted her, even if she disliked it, she would cooperate. Down the mountain, the 9 great immortal sects offensive was like a raging tide. Lightning, sword chi, and giant seals bombarded the formation, making it hum. Countless flying swords transformed into a torrent, falling like raindrops onto the sect protection formation. The spirit stones were also burning rapidly. The protective light screen trembled faintly, seemingly on the verge of breaking at any moment. But Lin Yun knew it could last for at least another day, so he wasn't flustered at all. Huang Shi'er gritted her teeth and charged at the forefront, the firelight from her spear tip dazzling as it transformed into a fire phoenix. And she cursed, "Old Devil Lin, you beast, if you have the guts, come out and fight me one-on-one. Why are you hiding inside, pretending to be the turtle?" Lin Yun stood on the stone platform, squinting at her, his smile growing even brighter. "Little niece, what's the rush? Later, I'll let you witness your father's power." At this moment, a great battle was on the verge of breaking out. The disciples of the Yin Yang sacred sect stood firm within the formation, each gripping their weapons, and facing this million-strong demon-slaying army. They couldn't help but sweat profusely. Once the spirit stones were completely burned, their magical power would be consumed. Ultimately, their flesh and blood would form a great wall. Although death was certain, they had no other choice. Lin Yun took a deep breath. Although victory was assured, he was still a little nervous. The Yin and Yang profound emperor art circulated within him. Black and white chi condensed like thunder in his palm. He would wait for the moment the great formation couldn't hold, then charge out, dying black demon peak with blood. Or he would take the initiative to attack, creating an opportunity to kill the opposing leaders. Now, he could only act according to the situation. In front of Black Demon Peak, war drums pounded, shaking the mountains and earth. The 9 great immortal sects offensive slammed against the mountain protection formation, and the black light screen was covered in cracks, on the verge of collapse. In the far distance, there seemed to be many cultivators from both the immortal and demonic paths watching the spectacle. Perhaps they wanted to take advantage, or perhaps they wanted to see who would emerge victorious. This, the largest war in 10,000 years. At this moment, it attracted countless gazes. Even some ancient beings seemed to cast their attention over. Lin Yun stood on the stone platform, his expression cold. His black robe flapped in a strong wind, and he overlooked the millions of cultivators down the mountain, a cold light flickering in his eyes. Suddenly, a plan came to mind. "You righteous path sects, aren't you most concerned about face?" He suddenly threw his head back and laughed loudly, his voice piercing through the battle cries and directly reaching the ears of the 9 great leaders. "A group of righteous path leaders, is this all you've got? Why don't I, Lin Yun, come out alone and challenge all of you? Do you dare to accept? I don't think you can break my yin-yang flowing sect protection formation in a short time. Why waste spiritual power resources? If I die, won't the remaining treasures of the sacred sect all be yours?" Lin Yun's words were like lighting a powder keg, and the mountain below exploded. And it also seemed to make some sense. Seeing that they couldn't break through for a long time, they were also getting a bit anxious. They didn't know that the great formation would eventually be broken. Xiantang Gang of the Heavenly Profound Sect's face turned as red as a pig's liver, and he roared, "Arrogant brat, if you're looking for death, this old man will tear you apart." He had the highest seniority among those present. Leijin Xiao of the Zixiao sect's forehead veins bulged. Their lightning spells consumed the most power. Now that there was an opportunity, he wanted to try the tactic of capturing the leader first. So he gritted his teeth and cursed. "If this devilhead dares to come out and seek death, I'll strike him down." Jian Wuji of the Taiching Sword Gate's eyes turned cold, and his sword chi hummed. Huang Shi'er of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty was so angry that her pretty face turned pale, and she wanted even more to personally kill her enemy. She shook her phoenix feather spear. "Old Devil Lin, you beast, stop with the smooth talk. If you have the guts, come out." The 9 great leaders were all furious. This devil head dared to provoke all of them. He was simply tired of living. And while they seemed to be in a fit of rage, they actually had their own calculations in their hearts. If the other party dared to come out, they would dare to attack him en masse. Lin Yun's smile grew even wilder. With a wave of his hand, the mountain protection formation rumbled and withdrew, revealing the rugged mountain body of Black Demon Peak. Then the formation closed again. It seemed he was leaving no retreat. He took a step forward, standing alone on the mountain peak, his aura resolute, and he declared loudly, "Fellow Righteous Path leaders, I, Lin Yun, am willing to sacrifice myself for the Tao today, using my life to exchange for the future of the Yin Yang sacred sect. Come on, kill me, and you can make a name for yourselves, shake the world, and my Yin Yang sacred sect will be at your disposal." His words were impassioned, as if he truly intended to die. The 9 great leaders were stunned for a moment, then sneered repeatedly, thinking that this devilhead had lost his mind to dare to come out alone. Even Ji Xiao, who was hiding in the hall and watching this scene, couldn't help but feel some doubt in her heart. Would this beast really be so kind? And didn't he break through? Now he was probably playing some trick again. Ji Xiao's mood was very complex now. She both wanted the other party to be torn to shreds by the immortal Tao army, and she wanted Lin Yun to win, so that the sect could be preserved. And she could also personally tear him into 10,000 pieces, extract his divine soul, and torment him every night. To die like this would be too easy for him. Chapter 16, the situation is serious. Is the demon lord in danger? Lin Yun's words were truly impassioned. Many disciples on the immortal Tao side began to look at this demonic path supreme with newfound respect. I never thought old devil Lin would be so righteous. Yes, he's actually willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good. But he's still a bit naive. Even if he nobly goes to his death, how could we miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? All Yin Yang sacred sect disciples must die. Right, senior brother, your words are exactly what I was thinking. This old devil Lin has dominated the world for thousands of years. He was already a demonic path giant before I was even born. I never thought old devil Lin would meet such an end today. It truly brings this old man joy. He absolutely won't be a match for the several sect leaders and leaders. Just watch, he'll die a terrible death. Within the immortal Tao allied forces, many immortal sect disciples were also whispering. Some felt pity and admiration for Lin Yun. Others mocked him and wished to see him utterly annihilated. However, they all unanimously believed that this encirclement operation against the sacred sect was already a foregone conclusion. After all, how could their 9 great immortal sects, having come out in full force, possibly fail? Excluding the strongest foundational inheritances within their sects, their 9 great immortal sects had held back almost nothing. Their most powerful techniques and treasures were all brought forth. Moreover, they were all personally led by sect master supremes or grand elders. The Divine Phoenix dynasty was a special case, but that Phoenix maiden status was extraordinary, and she could represent the will of the imperial family. After all, Huang Shir was destined to be the next empress. This time, it was equivalent to an imperial expedition, and within the sacred sect's protective formation. The Yin Yang sacred sect disciples crowded before the mountain gate, their eyes red. Their sect master supreme had dominated the world for thousands of years. Now he was so tragic, willing to sacrifice himself as bait. What reason did they have to retreat? This battle was either his death or their survival. As demonic path disciples, reviled by the outside world, they had always considered themselves the sacred sect. They were truly cultivating sects. As the saying goes, the Tao of heaven diminishes the abundant and supplements the insufficient. Yet heaven and earth are unkind, treating all beings as straw dogs. Regardless of immortal Tao or demonic path, this was inherently a man-eat-man world. And their sacred sect was merely a more radical immortal sect within the immortal Tao. But compared to truly evil and crooked paths, their sacred sect actually harbored concern for the world. For so many years, they had diligently sought the Tao of immortals, even occasionally saving lives and healing the injured. The mortal kingdoms under their rule also lived in peace and prosperity. The young were nurtured, and the old were cared for. Under the teachings of the sect Master Supreme, it was even the most civilized imperial dynasty. They could achieve a state where doors were left unlocked at night, and everyone had enough to eat. Although occasionally, when their lifespan was nearing its end, they might need to offer their souls. But even then, everyone was willing. After all, to die peacefully without illness or pain was an immense blessing for mortals. Therefore, the immortal sect disciples never felt they had done anything wrong. They were merely cultivators who were more pragmatic. Now, being attacked en masse by these hypocritical immortal Taoists, they too had a belly full of unvented rage. Better to be broken jade than an intact tile. Not far away, Junior sister Lu Sweki clutched the hem of her skirt, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. She choked out, "Is senior brother crazy? How can he fight them all by himself? I don't want to see senior brother get hurt." Boo-hoo. Lu Sweki hadn't planned on surviving this battle herself, but she never expected to have to watch her sect master senior brother go before her. She was already overcome with uncontrollable grief. Ling Shuangxue, acting as the Grand Elder of Enforcement and Battle Supervisor, stood beside her. Her face was expressionless, but her hand gripped her sword hilt, her knuckles white. However, she had long known about Lin Yun's Ascension Realm, and roughly understood that her sect master junior brother was doing this intentionally. Yet, at this moment, she could only pretend not to know. Moreover, her mind was in turmoil. She didn't know what her sect master junior brother's plan was, or if he would put himself in danger. He was now the hope of everyone in the sect. On a palace roof, Master Yun Xueji's white robes fluttered, making her appear like a descending immortal. Beside her were many sect prodigies and members of the Dark Guard. Seeing Lin Yun act so rashly, she also wanted to stop him. But Yun had grown up now. He was a towering man. She shouldn't influence his decisions and prestige. So be it. If he ultimately couldn't win, she wouldn't live alone either. Below, many ordinary sect disciples were moved to tears, gritting their teeth. Some collapsed to the ground in despair, cries of "Sect Master, no!" rising and falling. Lin Yun's heart, however, was calm. The more critical the moment of life and death, the calmer he became. A bunch of hypocrites who falsely claimed to act on behalf of heaven. This supreme is right here. If you have the guts, come and take my head. Lin Yun's voice was cold and sharp, imbued with a resolute indifference to life and death. And his behavior, in turn, matched his character as a demonic path overlord. Overbearing and unreasonable, fearless of death. One man was enough to withstand 1,000 armies. Not to mention the demonic path side. Even many female cultivators on the immortal Dao side looked at Lin Yun at this moment. Their eyes shone with admiration. Such a man was a true man. If one were to become his Dao companion, even death would hold no regrets. But alas, their current positions were different. They now understood why so many immortal Dao prodigies and saintesses were so infatuated with this demonic sect supreme back then, their divine souls captivated. Such an overbearing and powerful man. Who could resist him? Stop wasting your breath. This old man will take your life right now. Old Devil Lin, your good days are over. Demonic path scoundrel, die for this humble Taoist. Amitabha, lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha instantly. This old man requests the demonic supreme to die today. The 9 leaders of the immortal sects who had come this time exchanged glances, none wanting to give up this rare opportunity. To ensure nothing went wrong, they immediately attacked first. And it was a group assault. They truly had no shame at all. Even on the immortal Dao side, a chorus of boos rang out. The sacred sect disciples within the protective formation were even more enraged, their eyes practically spitting fire. They saw the heavenly profound sect's supreme treasure, the Tianxin seal, smash down with a roar, making the air hum and then explode. The Zixiao sect's lightning whip roared like an evil dragon, causing rocks to shatter and fly. The Taiching sword gates, sword chi, vast and overwhelming, thousands of swords merging into one, tore through the void realm and stabbed directly at him. Huang Xiner's phoenix, phantom, swooped down, burning the sky a fiery red. Several void-breaking realm experts joined forces, their torrents of spiritual power colliding, and the sky darkened as if it were about to collapse. Lin Yun, however, did not dodge or evade. His devilish chi surged, and black and white chaos chi swirled around him. He withstood the first wave of attacks, his figure unmoving like a mountain. He was clearly being ganged up on by several peak experts, on the verge of a life-or-death crisis. But a smile still hung on Lin Yun's lips, as if he had completely disregarded life and death, seeing that he actually accepted the challenge and didn't flee. The several leaders were also overjoyed. They decisively ended their probing, and their attacks and methods became increasingly fierce. Every move was lethal. Lin Yun was also pushed into a perilous situation. Junior sister below had cried so much her eyes were red and swollen. She clasped her hands over her chest, silently praying. Her lips were bitten until they bled, yet she didn't notice. How desperately she wished she could fight alongside her senior brother now. But she was too weak. Lu Sweki hated herself immensely at this moment. Why had she been so playful in the past? Why hadn't she cultivated properly? Every time she saw her senior brother being repelled, her heart felt as if it had been stabbed. Yun Xueji watched her most cherished disciple in this lifetime, now in a perilous and disheveled state. Her heart ached so much she could barely breathe. In all these years, when had Yun'er ever suffered such indignity? Only Ling Shuangxue, tightly clenching her fists, Her fingernails were nearly digging into her flesh. What are you waiting for? Quickly counterattack. Haven't you already had a breakthrough? Could it be that you lied to senior sister? At this moment, watching Lin Yun, who was constantly being attacked by the 9 peak experts, almost steadily retreating, Ling Shuangxue, who had been full of confidence, began to waver. She didn't rule out that her sect master junior brother had lied to her. After all, it wasn't the first time he had done such a thing. Everyone, prepare to attack. Ling Shuangxue took a deep breath. She was ready that once her sect master junior brother fell into a trap, she would recklessly launch an attack. Yes, many sacred sect disciples also had soaring battle intent. Watching their sect master supreme fight valiantly, bathed in blood, their eyes were already bloodshot, wishing they could immediately rush out and destroy all life before them. Even if the cost was their own lives, they would not hesitate. The dignity of the sacred sect, the dignity of the sect master, must not be overthrown. Chapter 17. The situation is reversed. Huang Xie is captured alive, under the gaze of millions of cultivators. Lin Yun fought against the multitude alone. Several times, he was in mortal danger, his blood staining the sky. Especially those few righteous path leaders, their attacks were extremely tricky. Every time, it was almost like a sneak attack. It caused substantial damage to Lin Yun. Ha ha ha, you bunch of trash. You thought you were so formidable, didn't you? If it were a one-on-one fight, I'd crush you with one hand. Lin Yun was still arrogantly shouting, as if the bloodstains on his body weren't his own. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hand. But in his heart, Lin Yun was secretly calculating. The time was almost right. As the saying goes, you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a child. If he didn't get injured, if he didn't act more realistically, they probably wouldn't let down their guard. They would always keep some strength in reserve as a path of retreat. Lin Yun knew these righteous path hypocrites too well. Even now, they were still wary of each other and hadn't gone all out. Otherwise, if he only showed his current level of cultivation, he wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. Under Lin Yun's mockery and sneers, the leaders of the immortal sects also felt humiliated. After all, ganging up on one person and still fighting to such a stalemate, it indeed made them seem somewhat incompetent. So their attacks became even more relentless, slowly starting to hold nothing back. Lin Yun also found himself in increasingly perilous situations. Several times he was hit head-on by divine abilities, just as the 9 leaders thought victory was assured and pressed their attacks even harder. A cold glint flashed in Lin Yun's eyes. The time had come. Some of the people on the opposite side had already started to lose patience and were going all out. At this moment, it was also when they were least prepared. As the saying goes, it was that awkward period when the old strength was gone, but new strength had not yet emerged. They had no time to react. Lin Yun's aura suddenly erupted. His Ascension Realm cultivation was unleashed without reservation, his aura soaring into the sky. It seemed to transform into a monstrous wave, shaking mountains 100 miles away and directly pulverizing the white clouds 1,000 miles away. Everyone was stunned by this scene. This cultivation, this aura, all cultivators of both immortal and demonic paths, at this moment, had a terrifying thought emerge in their hearts. Old Devil Lin had a breakthrough. He had reached the Ascension Realm, also known as a land immortal. This was the highest realm of the 3,000-hour realms. It had already reached the limit that the lower realm could accommodate. He couldn't even go all out, otherwise the Ascension gravitational pull from the upper realm and the heavenly Tao tribulation might target him. If he wasn't prepared, he might be directly struck dead. His body and Tao would perish. In this instant, everyone's minds raced. But there was no time to react. The thought had just appeared in their minds, but they couldn't mobilize their magical power to respond. Time was pressing. Lin Yun didn't even have time to curse these fools. His figure shot out like a ghost, his toes tapping, and the void realm directly let out a sonic boom. Space was torn apart, revealing cracks, and the chaotic spatial storms within made everyone tremble with fear. Lin Yun lunged straight for Ling Outyin of Lingxiao sect. Ling Outyin reacted relatively quickly, waving his hand to set up a protective great formation, and his magical robe also emitted a dazzling light. But Lin Yun was even faster, unleashing the sacred sect's peerless divine ability, Yin and Yang Soul, devouring palm. The black and white chi flowed and continuously collided, their power growing more and more intense. The giant palm directly tore through the air, and the palm wind brought forth an ear-piercing scream and a sonic boom. This divine ability even contained divine soul attacks. It was Old Devil Lin's signature killing technique that made him famous throughout the world. Ling Outyan's protective spiritual light had just brightened when it was crushed, and his magical robe also shattered directly. The giant palm struck him in the chest, and with a bang, his entire body exploded into a bloody mist, bone fragments mixed with blood splattering everywhere, the stench filling the air. The several leaders hadn't even reacted yet. Lin Yun had already turned around, for killing just one person was not enough. So he still held a more powerful trump card. Yin and Yang World Destroying Slash. This was a singular, destructive divine ability, primarily focused on being indestructible and breaking through anything. All his magical power condensed into a single slash, black and white chi intertwined, tearing apart the sky and rending the earth. Any physical body that touched it would instantly collapse. A crescent moon-like blade swept out. Black and white chi roared like a great dragon, its sharp light piercing the heavens. Yu Chanfeng of Yuhua Gate and Ru Song of Howren Academy couldn't dodge in time. The blade formed by the divine ability directly passed through their chests. As if encountering no resistance, their physical bodies were directly split into two sections. Blood flowed all over the ground, scattering a large amount of flesh and blood. With their powerful cultivation, they seemed to still be alive, but how could the attack of the sect master supreme of the Yin-Yang sacred sect be so simple? Their sea of consciousness and spiritual platforms were also directly shattered. Their divine souls were annihilated. The two stared, their breath and vitality dissipating unwillingly. For pieces of their corpses crashed to the ground, shattering into pieces and kicking up a cloud of dust. All of this happened too quickly. 3 leaders had actually perished just like that. The scene instantly descended into chaos, and the shouts of the righteous path allied army faltered. They all widened their eyes. They simply couldn't believe everything that had happened. But Lin Yun didn't have time to celebrate. He still had another thing to do. The surviving righteous path leaders from Heavenly Profound Sect, Zixiao Sect, Longevity Taoist Temple, Great Ming Ancient Temple, and Howren Academy were all directly scared out of their wits. They scattered and fled in all directions. Lin Yun's current might was simply too terrifying. He had actually instantly, at a critical moment, killed 3 void-breaking realm sect masters. These were all supreme beings, revered as old ancestors. Now, they didn't even have time for their souls to escape. They had no chance of reincarnation. It was clearly a great situation. Alas, this old devil Lin was truly cunning and cruel. He had actually hidden his cultivation. But how was this even possible? How difficult was it to achieve a breakthrough to the Ascension realm? How could the opponent have made such great progress in such a short time? Had he eaten some 9 Revolutions creation golden core or something? They didn't know, but Lin Yun had indeed consumed a great tonic. Huang Shi'er was also panicking at this moment. She instinctively felt that she was in danger. She was originally the weakest in cultivation among the 9 leaders. In fact, she didn't even need to be on the battlefield, but she wanted to vent her anger for her imperial mother, which was why she personally took action. Sure enough, the corner of her eye caught sight of the great devil head rushing straight towards her. Lin Yun's target was very clear. The others were now preoccupied with their own safety. Huang Shi'er knew that no one could help her. She gritted her teeth and thrust out her phoenix feather divine spear, its fiery light dazzling, transforming into a fiery phoenix dancing in the 9 heavens. But Lin Yun sneered, using his most unfathomable divine ability, Yin and Yang God, Devouring Pull. This was a great divine ability specifically created for controlling, binding, and capturing powerful enemies. Only a grand elder who had reached the realm of Yin and Yang transformation to the extreme could master it. It also had a devouring effect, making it extremely vicious. Under Huang Shi'er's terrified gaze, black and white threads, like spiritual snakes, coiled around her arm. Her spiritual power stagnated. The hand holding the spear trembled, and the spear tip quivered. The spiritual snakes, like a giant net, wrapped around her entire body, then directly vanished into her body, instantly sealing her meridians and cultivation. Lin Yun laughed heartily, flew forward, and grabbed her wrist. He forcefully pulled this little niece in front of him. Huang Shi'er struggled and cursed. "Old devil Lin, damn you, let me go. If you dare to touch a single one of my fingers, our divine Phoenix Dynasty's old ancestor will not let you off." At this moment, Huang Shi'er felt a mix of fear and regret. She struggled, but Lin Yun's grip was as strong as iron tongs, and without her cultivation or magical power, how could she move even a little? Lin Yun pulled her into his embrace, leaning down and whispering in her ear, "Little niece, just come with me obediently. You smell really good, and you're a bit like Lin Yu too." Lin Yun deliberately took a few deep breaths near Huang Shi'er's ear. He said with a look of intoxication. Huang Shi'er's pretty face turned completely pale with fright. I warn you, don't mess around." Her heart was in utter chaos at this moment. Lin Yun chuckled. There were still traces of blood on his face, At this moment, he looked like a devil. If you don't want to make a fool of yourself in front of everyone, I advise you not to struggle. For the sake of my past acquaintance with your imperial mother, I won't kill you. After speaking, Lin Yun no longer paid attention to Huang Shi. He looked around. His gaze was filled with smugness and arrogance. His aura was also unreservedly displayed at this moment. Chapter 18. Everyone, follow me and chase me for 100,000 miles. Watching Lin Yun retreat into the grand formation, holding the Phoenix Maiden, everyone was stunned. Millions of people were completely silent, so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Senior brother, oh, you're really too amazing. Junior sister Lu Sueki was the first to react, directly running over and pouncing on him. Lu Sueki covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face, and said tremblingly, Senior brother, you're too strong. Lin Yun looked at his junior sister, whose eyes were red. He felt a bit emotional. This time, he had finally protected his junior sister and the others. He hadn't let them perish before his eyes. However, the matter was far from over. He had to stop killing with more killing. If they could just come and go as they pleased, wouldn't everyone think they could just walk all over him? Lin Yun directly tossed Huang Shi, who was in his arms, to the side. He ignored her murderous gaze. He caught his junior sister who had pounced on him. Hey, aren't you fine now? Look at you, what an unseemly display. You don't look like a saintess at all, Lin Yun said, feigning seriousness. He wrapped one arm around his junior sister's waist and gently wiped away her tears with the other hand. I was scared, you know. Lu Sueki twisted her body shyly. In front of so many people, she was still a bit reserved. All right, you go to the side for now. Senior brother still has things to do. Oh, and take her with you. Lin Yun released his junior sister. He had her take Huang Shi away. As his prey, he couldn't let other men touch her. Okay, then senior brother, be careful. Later, I'll also go out and kill the enemy. They all deserve to die. Lu Sueki's eyes revealed a cold, killing intent. She was not some kind-hearted person. She only acted like a good girl in front of her sect master senior brother. All right, have your senior sister keep a close eye on her. Lin Yun also nodded to Ling Xuanxue and Yin Xueji, who had gathered around. Now is not the time to talk, so they merely exchanged glances. Everything was understood without words. Ling Xuanxue's face was still flushed with excitement, although she already knew that her sect master junior brother was in the Ascension realm. But seeing him fight against a multitude of experts alone, her heart still pounded fiercely. Her sect master junior brother was truly terrifying in his madness. Only such a powerful man was worthy of her affection. Ji Xiao stood in a pavilion, narrowing her phoenix eyes as she watched Lin Yun, a cold glint flashing in her eyes. She whispered, such a good performance of sacrificing himself for the Tao. He's really good at acting, indeed a cunning ant. All the holy sect disciples looked at their sect master supreme, with eyes full of worship. Some even cried tears of joy. Lord Demon Venerable was still the invincible Demon Venerable in their hearts. He would never disappoint those who followed him. Ling Xuanxue took Huang Shi from junior sister's hands. This was a very important hostage, although she didn't particularly like the other party. She also didn't know if her sect master junior brother had some other ulterior motive, but she couldn't afford to lose her. Several more layers of seal restrictions were placed into Huang Shi's body. Then she summoned several female disciples to firmly restrain her. Lin Yun at this moment had once again recovered his invincible aura of who else but me. The aura of the Ascension realm was released without reservation. Fortunately, he was only in the early stage now, so he wouldn't be forcibly ascended by the pulling force. However, a great cultivator of the Ascension realm at his young age was already synonymous with invincibility. He could act freely, possessed a long lifespan, and was in the prime of his strength. Lin Yun looked at the dense millions of immortal Tao allied forces opposite him. Remove the sect protection formation. I want to see who dares to take a single step forward. Lin Yun waved his hand and said domineeringly, Yes, we respectfully obey the sect master's sacred decree. The elders all began to act. Within a few breaths, the heavy protective formation disappeared. Many holy sect disciples also faced the millions of immortal Tao allied forces directly for the first time. The auras of both sides intertwined, forming countless powerful plumes of smoke and bloody chi. Even thousands of miles away, it was clearly visible. But there was an eerie silence. Neither side spoke for a moment, as if they hadn't yet recovered their senses. The battle lasted only a few breaths, and 3 of the 9 leaders died. Another was captured. The smell of blood still permeated the air. Dark clouds pressed down on the sky, and thunder rumbled faintly. Bloody red raindrops were falling. The deaths of 3 great cultivators of the void-breaking realm directly triggered the phenomenon of the heavens weeping. At this moment, within the immortal Tao Allied Forces camp, the remaining 6 leaders were all dumbfounded. When everything happened in an instant, they simply didn't have time to react. To protect themselves, they were directly caught off guard by Lin Yun. Suddenly, they lost 3 fellow Taoists. They were now utterly defeated. Seeing that everyone had lost morale and confidence, Lei Zhenxiao's face was as green and ugly as if he had eaten a fly. He roared, "Ascension Realm! How could this devil head be in the Ascension Realm?" Xian Tiangong's hands trembled so much that he could barely hold the Tianxian seal, muttering, "Impossible! This is impossible!" Jin Wuji's flying swords flickered around him, and a look of terror flashed in his eyes. If he hadn't left quickly just now, it might have been him who died. Old Taoist Wuchen of the Longevity Taoist Temple also had an ashen face and remained silent. His immortal demeanor was long gone. He had thought he came to pick up a bargain, but he didn't expect to be delivering heads instead. The old monk from the Great Ming Ancient Temple was even more terrified. They were not good at this kind of frontal combat, and this time they had also come to share the sacred sect's treasures. They never expected to fall into a desperate situation after just one encounter. After Huang Shi'er was captured, the morale of the Righteous Path Allied forces collapsed even further. The Divine Phoenix Dynasty's army was almost dying of anxiety. The previous abduction of the Empress was already a great humiliation. Now the next Empress, the current Phoenix Maiden, was also taken alive in broad daylight. How could these generals explain this to the Empress? How could they explain this to the old Imperial Master? But now, with millions of troops facing each other, they dared not act rashly. Lin Yun took a few steps forward. Then he ascended to the top of a tall tower. His black robe flapped loudly in the strong wind, and his long hair swayed freely behind him. With his hands behind his back, Lin Yun's gaze was filled with coldness. Wherever his gaze fell, that section of immortal Tao cultivators fell silent, not daring to meet his gaze for even a moment. Lin Yun's mouth curved slightly, revealing a joyful smile. Then it turned into wild laughter. "Ha ha ha! You bunch of trash! What does immortal Tao matter? What does demonic path matter? It's all about showing your true strength in battle. Now, in this venerable's eyes, you worthless rabble are the truly vulnerable and evil cults. Who among you is unconvinced? Step forward. Let this venerable weigh you up." Lin Yun at this moment was truly high-spirited. He also intended to make a good impression in front of the Empress Ancestral Master. Of course, it wasn't just for showing off. It was also to hide his shrewd calculations, to display the demeanor of a domineering leader, lest the Empress Ancestral Master harbor any vigilance towards him. However, he also knew that his actions just now had probably already left a deep impression on the Empress Ancestral Master. But that was also for the greater good. Looking at the arrogant and overbearing appearance of this demonic path Ancestral Master, the immortal Tao allied forces were all furious but dared not speak. Many immortal Tao disciples looked expectantly at their respective sect masters, hoping they would step forward. And the disciples of the 3 sects whose sect masters had already died were as pale as if they had lost their parents. The scholars from Howren Academy now looked like frosted eggplants. The morale of the Divine Phoenix Dynasty's army was also in disarray now. Xian Tiangang of the Xintian sect saw that this situation couldn't continue. It was impossible to continue besieging the sacred sect now. The only question was whether they could break through. If all these people were afraid of death, how could he and the others retreat? Moreover, they couldn't just abandon their disciples. He exchanged glances with Lei Zhenxiao of the Zixiao sect. Then he looked at the other 3 fellow Taoists who already had thoughts of retreating. They all understood each other's intentions. Old Devil Lin, don't be so arrogant and smug. You are nothing but a grasshopper after autumn. You won't last much longer. We still have a million immortal Tao allied forces. A single spit from each of us could drown you. Xian Tiangang soared into the sky. Lei Zhenxiao and the others quickly followed. Yes, everyone, don't be afraid. We can still hold back Old Devil Lin. Everyone, form up, follow me, and charge. Vicious disciple refers to Lin Yun of the demonic path. Everyone has the right to kill him. Eliminate evil and defend the Tao. Seeing that the few leaders still had battle intent, many immortal Tao disciples' eyes once again ignited with hope. Their immortal Tao's purpose was to eliminate evil and defend the Tao. Even if it meant staining the clear sky with their blood, it would be today. Lin Yun looked at this group of fearless immortal Tao disciples and shook his head slightly. Have they all been brainwashed into fools? A bunch of silly young people. Holy sect disciples. Heed my command. Charge with me. Pursue the immortal Tao villains for 100,000 miles without turning back. Lin Yun let out a cold shout. He charged out, leading the way. Chapter 19. Kill, kill, kill. Let the blood flow like a river. Below Demonic Peak, blood stained the rocks. Shouts of battle shook the heavens and earth. Lin Yun reversed the situation with a single move, killing 3 leaders and capturing Huangshi alive. The morale of the 9 great immortal sects' allied forces instantly collapsed. But it wasn't over yet. The remaining leaders saw that the situation was unsalvageable. However, they also knew that old Devil Lin would never let them off so easily. So, they could only initiate a final decisive battle. Then, they fought as they retreated. Lin Yun also saw through their objective. How could he let them have their way? But now they were on high alert, and even if he was an entire major realm higher, it would be difficult to achieve any substantial gains again. A great power in the void-breaking realm, intent on escaping. Even Ascension realm great power like him could not easily keep him. But since this group of immortal Tao disciples came to eradicate demons and uphold the righteous path, they naturally had to leave something behind. This was not child's play. Lin Yun stood atop the high tower, waving his hand. The protectors and disciples of the Yin-Yang sacred sect charged out like a tide. They howled, their eyes bloodshot. They had long been eager to drink blood, being openly surrounded and attacked on their doorstep. The pressure they had endured these days was unimaginable. If it weren't for Lin Yun's overwhelming power, the sacred sect might have fallen into internal strife long ago. But at this moment, they didn't need to suppress themselves. As long as the sect master demonic venerable was still here, they would be invincible, only to see the demonic path battle flags fluttering in the wind. Countless black-robed disciples of the Yin-Yang sacred sect surged out like a tide, and directly collided with the immortal Tao allied forces on the opposite side. A full-scale, chaotic battle began. On the immortal Tao side, the sword cultivators all started fighting desperately. Countless flying swords fell like raindrops. But the holy sect disciples were fearless, advancing continuously over the flesh and blood of their senior brothers. Various formations and combined attack spells emitted dazzling light. The literary chi of the scholars from Howard Academy soared into the sky. Countless imperial edicts and iron certificates suppressed the aura of the holy sect disciples, weakening it by several points. But they were leaderless at this moment. Their leader, Ru Qing-song, was dead, and they wouldn't last much longer. The combined attack spell of the great Ming ancient temple even transformed into endless golden runes, bewitching people's minds. This kind of chaotic battle, involving millions of cultivators, was the first in tens of thousands of years. It was an unprecedented, perhaps unrepeatable, immortal demon war. As soon as the armies of the immortal and demonic paths clashed, the world immediately collapsed and the earth shattered. The ground directly cracked open and magma spewed out. In the sky, the lightning spells of the Zixiao sect were even more invincible. They transformed into thunder dragons, sweeping across an area with each attack. But no matter how desperately these lower-level cultivators fought, they could not change the ultimate outcome of the battle. In his previous life, Lin Yun's cultivation was insufficient, and he himself was in constant peril. How could he care for his sect? So, in an instant, the army collapsed like a crumbling mountain. But now it was his time to shine. Lin Yun unleashed the long-suppressed rage without reservation. I don't care if you were coaxed and deceived into besieging the demonic sect. Since you came, be prepared not to return. All of you die. Lin Yun stood at the peak of the mountain, his endless magical power transforming into black and white demonic chi like tribulation clouds. The aura of the Ascension realm pressed down, making the air feel heavy. Wherever there were the most immortal Tao disciples, Lin Yun directly struck. He directly unleashed the demonic path Great Hand Seal. A single palm strike killed a large group. Since being branded as a demonic sect, Lin Yun naturally wouldn't bear this stigma in vain. He had also collected and created many demonic path cultivation techniques and divine abilities. But this was merely a casual effort on his part. His main targets were still those several sect masters, the leaders of the allied forces. Lin Yun coldly swept his gaze over the remaining 6 leaders. Xiantian Gang of the Heavenly Profound Sect, Lei Xiao of the Zixiao Sect, Jian Wuji of the Taiching Sword Gate, Dao Wuchen of the Longevity Daoist Temple, and Master Yinjue of the Great Ming Ancient Temple. These leaders of the void-breaking realm all had ashen faces, their eyes flashing with fear, but none dared to step forward and fight head-on again. Although they had just shouted earth-shattering slogans and directly initiated the great battle. But at this moment, they were huddled together, relying on each other. They simply wouldn't give Lin Yun an opportunity to defeat them one by one. Running away? Weren't you going to destroy my demonic sect? You enjoyed hitting me just now, didn't you? Now it's my turn. Lin Yun sneered, his figure flickered, and he lunged directly at Xian Tiangang. He struck out with a palm, condensing the magical power of the Ascension realm. This blow was powerful and heavy. The space directly emitted a cracking sound. Xian Tiangang hurriedly sacrificed the Tianxian seal, which transformed into a luminous seal to block in front of him. But as soon as the giant seal lit up, it was crushed by the palm wind. With a bang, it exploded into dust. The remaining body of the Tianxian seal flew backward, heavily smashing into his chest like a meteorite. Xian Tiangong's chest visibly caved in a large section, and he spat out a mouthful of heart blood mixed with fragments of internal organs. He staggered backward, roaring, "Retreat! Quickly retreat!" How could he dare to linger in battle? He turned and ran. He had thought he could exchange a few moves as before. He didn't expect old Devil Lin of the Ascension Realm to be so terrifying. He couldn't even withstand a single move now. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Lei Jinxiao gritted his teeth and sacrificed a formation plate, unleashing the Nine Heavens Thunder Array. Purple lightning roared like a dragon, charging towards Lin Yun, attempting to buy time. But Lin Yun swung his Yin-Yang World Annihilation Slash, and black and white sword chi swept across, scattering the lightning, and the residual sword chi struck directly at Lei Jinxiao's chest. At his current realm, all kinds of divine abilities and spells were as easy to wield as his own arms. Lei Jinxiao was a bit slow in dodging, and half of his left arm was directly severed, blood gushing out. The pain twisted his face, and he cursed, "This devil head is mad. He's irresistible. Retreat quickly." Ascension Realm. Terrifying as such, he directly transformed into a bolt of lightning and fled over 1,000 miles in an instant. The disciples of the Zixiao sect also felt a sudden jolt in their hearts when they saw this. "Damn it, Sect Master Supreme. Why did you run first? We haven't even gotten on board yet." They formed a large formation, also transforming into lightning, and ran faster than each other. Jian Wuji and Dao Wuchen exchanged a glance. Neither spoke, and they led their disciples, fighting as they retreated. Master Yinjue clasped his hands together, and his Vajra-subduing demon cultivation technique unleashed golden light, forming an indestructible sacred bell. But Lin Yun's palm strike shattered the golden light like paper under his demonic palm. He groaned, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. At a glance, he saw that several fellow Taoists had already disappeared without a trace. He immediately cursed silently, calling them beasts. They didn't even wait for this old monk. He immediately signaled his own disciples to begin their retreat. But how could Lin Yun easily let them escape unscathed? He directly charged forward, leading the pursuit. Below him, the immortal Tao allied forces and the demonic sect disciples were also killing with bloodshot eyes. The cultivators of the Heavenly Profound sect were hacked to pieces by the Holy Sect swordsmen. A lightning disciple from the Zixiao sect released a bolt of lightning, killing a few demonic cultivators, only to have an arrow pierce his chest. The cultivators of the Yuhua Gate moved lightly and gracefully, killing everywhere, but once the demonic sect's blood array opened, their figures were swallowed. Their bodies fell like rain in an instant, piling up like mountains. The sword cultivators of the Taiching Sword Gate had astonishing destructive power, especially when they formed a sword formation. But the protectors, elders, and many personal disciples were not to be trifled with. They directly charged forward, enduring the sword chi. Countless magic swords wailed, breaking and scattering everywhere. There was no time for myriad swords returning to the sect. Unleashing such a powerful move now would be courting death even more. It would simply draw on the swords of their senior brothers. And how could they fight barehanded? The pill cultivators of the Longevity Taoist Temple wanted to save people, but the demonic sect's poisonous mist permeated the air. Saving one meant two died, and there was simply no time. Cultivators from other sects suffered heavy casualties. Shouts of killing and screams mixed together. Blood flowed like a river. The stream at the foot of the mountain was dyed red, and the air was filled with a fishy smell. Lin Yun charged ahead alone, chasing after several void-breaking realm experts, black and white chi swirling. Wherever his palm strikes reached, righteous path cultivators fell like mown wheat. Dao Wuchen, perhaps due to his age, ran a bit slower and took another palm strike. A section of his chest caved in. He fell to the ground, unable to get up, and it seemed Lin Yun was about to deliver the finishing blow. "Fellow Taoist, save me," he cried out in despair. Jian Wuji, who was flying on his sword ahead, steeled himself and turned back to save him with a sword strike. Lin Yun sneered, crushing the 100-zhong sword chi with his bare hands. He backhanded Jian Wuji, sending him flying to crash into a large mountain before stopping, spitting blood incessantly. Although the situation was excellent, the demonic sect also suffered heavy losses. The 12 great protectors charged at the forefront. Yin Shueji was struck by the main body of the Tianxian seal. Half of her body was a bloody mess, but fortunately, her life was not in danger. Ling Shuangxue killed 2 personal disciples of the Yuhua Gate with a single sword strike. She herself was too slow to dodge and was struck by the Zixiao sect's lightning great array, kneeling unsteadily on the ground. Her beautiful hair was all frizzled, looking somewhat comical. This made her, who cared about her appearance, even more furious. Lu Sueki also went on a killing spree. As a saintess, she was not merely a mascot. But the next moment, she was burned all over with scorch marks by the illusory fire phoenix of the Divine Phoenix dynasty, falling to the ground, her fate unknown. Sect disciples died in wave after wave, their blood staining the demonic domain, and fragments of various magic treasures and flying swords were scattered everywhere, as if silently wailing. This chaotic battle lasted until dusk. Dark clouds pressed down on the sky, and the blood-red sunset cast its light over the vast battlefield. The stench of blood was nauseating, and the brutality was suffocating. The remaining leaders, with over 1 million crippled soldiers, fled for tens of thousands of miles, leaving countless corpses along the way. They were all disheveled, and looking back, they saw Lin Yun standing at the peak, his black robe stained with blood. Their hearts turned cold. This Devilhead's Ascension realm's strength completely overwhelmed them. They could only fight and retreat, their lives paramount. As the saying goes, better a dead fellow Taoist than a dead poor Taoist.